Chapter 391. 10 Challenges. The movement here naturally disturbed Gao Yu, who has been paying close attention to this place. Soon, when Gao Yu saw the 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill, she was inevitably caught in a sluggish state. Even if Yang Chen was likely to reach the realm of the 5th grade alchemist master, Gao Yu did not think of it at the moment, and now Yang Chen has reached this point. For a time, Gao Yu became a bit dumbfounded. Suddenly, she didn't know how to describe him as a disciple and a husband, a genius or a monstrous talent. Yang Chen did not let Zhanxian wait for a long time. After he finished refining the 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill, he only recovered and practiced for a day and night and then went with Zhanxian to a place she didn't know. Bao Yu and Sun Qingxu, they knew that Yang Chen and Zhanxian were going out for Yang Chen's challenge to Zhanxian. However, neither of the two women followed. Sun Qingxu remembered firmly that when she and Yang Chen were in the secret plane, they were in the foundation stage, and Yang Chen killed the Yuning stage praying mantis in an instant. Although Sister Zhanxian was powerful, there was still some gaps compared with the 5 praying mantis. As for Gao Yu, she has never doubted Yang Chen's combat effectiveness. The corpse of the 2nd city master has been refined and placed in her Qianqin bag. For the challenge of Yang Chen and Zhanxian, Gao Yu has never doubted the result. It was estimated that the palace master and the elders were not worried about the request of Zhanxian. They were only worried about the requirement of the 5th grade medicinal pill by the Blue Cloud sect. But now Yang Chen only used a short 3 years and all of them have been resolved in the time of alchemy. It seems that Gao Yu must also inform the sect to prepare for the marriage. The pride of Zhanxian, the two women seemed to understand that was why they have not followed, that was, they were afraid that Zhanxian would not look good after losing in front of them. However, this move in the eyes of Zhanxian had the opposite meaning. Gao Yu and Sun Qingxu were already Yang Chen's wife, so they didn't want to see the face of their husband if he lost. Where the two people fought, Yang Chen chose a small valley in the Miking mountain that was not noticeable. Putting a set of arrays made by Gongsun Ling into the surrounding area, it formed a powerful illusion array. When outsiders came over, they could not know what happened in the array. Ready? Yang Chen stood barefoot with Zhanxian, looking at the unarmed Zhanxian and asked quietly. Zhanxian nodded and didn't make a sound, but she seemed to have brought out the spiritual power of her whole body. First time Yang Chen extended a finger. Thus, Zhanxian was waiting for Yang Chen's attack. Suddenly a dull bell sound like a direct sound from the soul was heard, there was almost no reaction. Zhanxian's spiritual awareness was shaken and she fainted. She didn't know how long it took, Zhanxian woke up from a coma. Upon regaining consciousness, Zhanxian bounced from the ground and noticed that there was no slight abnormality in her body, only then did she begin to observe the surroundings. Yang Chen was sitting not far away and Zhanxian found out now that she had just got up from a wooden bed, it seemed that she had been lying on a wooden bed. She has just been in a coma. Zhanxian has rich experience in combat. How could she not know that Yang Chen has launched a spiritual awareness attack? However, in this moment, relying on a magic weapon to stun herself, Zhanxian really does not want to admit this failure. You rest for a while, we shall continue. Yang Chen seems to have seen the thoughts of Zhanxian long ago, with just a gentle smile, he handed Zhanxian a calming spirit pill. This set of pill could quickly calm people, for Zhanxian, this was a good fit. Again Zhanxian did not reject Yang Chen's kindness, she immediately took the medicinal pill and meditated. Soon, Zhanxian sent an invitation again to Yang Chen. Second time Yang Chen extended 2 fingers. This time, Zhanxian did not give Yang Chen any chance. When Yang Chen's voice just fell, Zhanxian's flying sword was already on Yang Chen's body. Of course, what was embarrassing was that it was on Yang Chen's thigh. This kind of challenge, of course, Zhanxian would not give Yang Chen any consideration. Bang, the sound of a crisp metal crash sounded and Yang Chen's body stood still in the same place and the flying sword that slammed on his body was directly bounced off. Yang Chen's body had no slightest injury. Bang, Zhanxian was relentless and several consecutive sword strike was made. This time, not only the thighs but also the chest and abdomen were attacked. It was a pity that no matter how Zhanxian urged her flying sword, Yang Chen's body was like a piece of steel, it was still without any damage. Don't you have another praying mantis puppet? Attack together. Yang Chen stood in the same place, even after receiving a few swords attacks from Zhanxian, he even reminded Zhanxian that she should use the Yuning stage puppet to fight. In the heart of Zhanxian, Yang Chen also provoked flames of anger with his remarks and she released the praying mantis without thinking. As soon as the puppet was released, the huge forearm was like a sharp knife and it attacked Yang Chen. It's a pity that even the peak Yuning stage praying mantis still had no use when it reached Yang Chen's body. There was no reaction except for a few low sounds. How could this be? Zhanxian was really shocked for a while. She didn't even react when Yang Chen stepped forward. Until Yang Chen put a flying sword on her neck, Zhanxian realized at this time she seemed to be defeated again. According to the Green Jade Immortal Island requirements, you should already be my wife. Yang Chen put away his flying sword, standing in front of Zhanxian. He gently lifted the chin of Zhanxian with his hand. In the confused state of Zhanxian, he gently kissed her lips. Zhanxian's eyes regained their clarity, her hands directly pushed Yang Chen out. Subconsciously she reached out to wipe her lips, her heart was full of anger. You just rely on a defensive magic weapon, the victory won't count. Even if it was 2 consecutive defeats in Yang Chen's hands, Zhanxian was still somewhat unconvinced. In particular, this time, Yang Chen relied on the defensive magic weapon and took the opportunity of her own shock to succeed. Well, I don't have to defend with a magic weapon. Yang Chen quickly replied, directly sticking out 3 fingers, he directed it at Zhanxian the 3rd time. When Yang Chen shouted for the 3rd time, Zhanxian's figure had already rushed up quickly. She firmly believed that Yang Chen would never be her opponent once he had no magic weapon for defense. Bang, a red smog suddenly slammed in front of Zhanxian, and then Zhanxian noticed danger. A few vines like snakes entangled her hands and feet. Suddenly, Zhanxian wanted to use the flying sword to cut the vines. However, just after a moment of thought, she suddenly realized that she began to feel dizzy, and those vines seemed to have some small thorns, and they instantly penetrated into her body. Only in a short time, Zhanxian did not have any strength in her whole body, and the flying sword in the air also slammed and fell to the ground. Her body began to fall down softly, and then she fell into the arms of Yang Chen. So what about this time? Yang Chen skillfully picked up Zhanxian's body horizontally, then with a soft kiss, he kissed Zhanxian's lips again. Zhanxian didn't even have the strength to struggle. She could only let Yang Chen do what he wanted. At the moment when their lips touched, the red smoke and the vines disappeared without a trace, and a greenish rattan appeared quickly, turning a circle around Zhanxian's body, which was so soft. It quickly dispersed Zhanxian's weakness. When her body recovered its strength, Zhanxian pushed Yang Chen away. She was still somewhat unconvinced, she asked Yang Chen, what is that? Blood demon vine. Yang Chen did not conceal it from Zhanxian, and he quickly replied. Hearing the bloody vines, Zhanxian could not help but be shocked. However, after checking her body, she found that she was relieved of the fact that she had just been punctured by only a few small mouths. However, it was made by this kind of fierce thing. Zhanxian still had some inexplicable discomfort when she stared at Yang Chen. Although she did not say much, the expressions and gaze on her face clearly showed her dissatisfaction. Well, the 4th time Yang Chen, this time, extended 4 fingers. Zhanxian's body shape suddenly moved, a sword light rushed towards Yang Chen, and not far away was the praying mantis puppet, waving its arms, and it also rushed up. In Yang Chen's hand, a long shadow instantly flew out. The long shadow was as flexible as a living thing in the air, and it entangled the puppet not far away. When the puppet became still, Zhanxian saw it clearly, it was a 5-colored rope. With the power of the Wielding stage praying mantis, it was still unexpectedly unable to break free. Even when Zhanxian controlled the puppet use its greatest strength, nothing changed. However, Zhanxian, who has rich experience in combat, knew that it was not a time to be in a daze. Just because she was surprised by Yang Chen, so even if the puppet had been restrained, but Zhanxian's flying sword still rushed to Yang Chen. Dang dang, Zhanxian's flying sword was blocked by a flying sword that appeared out of thin air. Zhanxian wanted to turn the sword in another direction, but the result was the same. Another flying sword appeared, blocking Zhanxian's flying sword again. Next to Yang Chen's side, there was a lot of flying swords, and quickly it formed a sharp sword array, which covered Zhanxian. As a sword cultivator, Zhanxian certainly understood the power of the sword array. However, any array has flaws, and this sword array must be no exception. Zhanxian continued to test it to find its flaw but failed. 49 flying swords were flying around Zhanxian's body, as if Zhanxian did not attack, the flying swords would not respond. Zhanxian stared at the flying swords for a long time and then made up her mind, taking advantage of her body protection magic weapon and her speed, she moved in the direction of Yang Chen. This movement was like igniting the sword array. 49 flying swords instantly turned into fierce weapons, violently smashing towards Zhanxian's body. When a dang-dang sound was heard, only 3 sounds had passed, Zhanxian relied on a body armor to defend against the attack. Then, at least 4 flying swords pierced the body armor, but when the blade touched Zhanxian's skin it stopped. Zhanxian once again understood that this was Yang Chen showing mercy. She could only suddenly take back her flying sword and stand still, not moving. Yang Chen did not withdraw the sword array, but slowly walked over and kissed on the lips of Zhanxian, who was standing close to the 49 flying swords, and then he waved and removed the sword array and the binding on the praying mantis puppet. The rope WSS clearly the 5-row hook that Yang Chen obtained from the treasure house of the Dragon Palace. It was refined from the 5 elements of the dragon's ribs. Not to mention that the praying mantis was just a PQing stage puppet, even if it was wrapped around a daching stage master, it would not necessarily be able to break free. As for the sword array, it was the 7-step array of Yang Chen from the dome. This method has outdone several Yuning stage masters, and dealing with Zhanxian was simply too easy. Do you have to rely on these foreign objects to defeat me? The 4th time she was defeated by Yang Chen and her lips were kissed 3 times by Yang Chen. Zhanxian was still somewhat unconvinced. Well, I won't use these foreign objects. Yang Chen directly raised his right hand the 5th time. This time it was not Zhanxian who took the initiative to attack, but it changed to Yang Chen. As soon as the voice fell, Yang Chen's 2 hands each had a thin flame, and they flew towards Zhanxian. The flame was purple and a cyan. Although the color was weird, the flame was too thin and looked unremarkable. It could be said that the flame was not too excessive, it was very appropriate to use hot silk to describe it. If it was not that Zhanxian knew that Yang Chen was definitely a fire-controlling expert, maybe she would have ignored these 2 fires. Looking at this scene, Zhanxian did not dare to have any carelessness. Under the control of Yang Chen, the 2 filaments were slender and flexible, and Zhanxian was almost entangled in an instant. Even if Zhanxian had already controlled the flying sword several times, she could not break the 2 pieces of fire. She used water attribute magic weapon to suppress it, but when the magic weapon touched the fire, it was like the melting of the candle, it did not work at all. The 2 fires were like a rope and Zhanxian was trapped in it. Another body armor that Zhanxian just sacrificed, when it hits the fire, it burned until the fire shattered it. Not letting her move at all, Yang Chen went forward again and asked with a smile, how about this time? Zhanxian snorted, but did not say anything. Although in her heart she has already admitted that Yang Chen was absolutely unique and powerful, but she didn't know why, Zhanxian still doesn't want to give in. Yang Chen didn't mind, just kissing again on Zhanxian's lips and then gathering back all the flames. He stepped back, stretched out 2 fingers, he made a 6 gesture, and said the 6th time. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 392. Subduing Zhanxian. Unconsciously, Yang Chen's hand was holding a unique flying sword, its color was blood red, which allowed one to see that it was a certain kind of plant refining. The strange thing was that the hilt was very strange, a sly ghost head spit out the blade in the mouth, but the hilt itself seems to be a living thing, twisted and circled above Yang Chen's hand and wrist, it was very strange. Zhanxian was secretly surprised, but her face did not show any expression. When Yang Chen picked up the flying sword and he snorted. This time, Yang Chen still stood still in the same place, but raised the long sword in his hand and looked at the coming flying sword. Even in his hands, Yang Chen's speed was still exceptionally fast. No matter how fast Zhanxian's flying sword was, from which direction it came from, it couldn't escape Yang Chen's sword. Scoff, a slight sharp edge cutting into a tofu sound was heard, the flying sword of Zhanxian was easily smashed into 2 pieces by Yang Chen's sword. After smashing the rest of the flying sword, Yang Chen's figure slammed into the front of Zhanxian, and Zhanxian had just called another flying sword, but Yang Chen's sword destroyed it once again, then Yang Chen's sword was placed on the white tender neck of Zhanxian. Don't tell me this is your life source flying sword. Yang Chen did not apologize for breaking the sword of Zhanxian. When needed, Yang Chen could send Zhanxian several hundred flying swords. You are taking advantage of your stronger flying sword. With the help of foreign objects, I am not satisfied. Zhanxian's tone did not soften. Looking at Yang Chen, she was still unconvinced. Yang Chen leaned forward, his lips glimpsed again on Zhanxian's red lips, he retracted the bloody demon vine sword held by Xiaoyan, and then found an ordinary flying sword and threw it in the air. The 7th time. Yang Chen made a 7-handed gesture with one hand. The flying sword in the air made a few circles in front of him, indicating that Zhanxian could come again. Zhanxian also took out a flying sword from her Qianqin bag again and attacked Yang Chen. The last 2 kisses by Yang Chen, Zhanxian has not resisted much. It seems that it was because of Yang Chen's effort, so she could not resist, but Zhanxian understood that her heart seemed to have accepted such a thing. When Yang Chen kissed her for the first time, Zhanxian pushed Yang Chen and wiped her lips with her hand. But now, Zhanxian made no such action, even when she was stopped by Yang Chen and her lips come up, there were still some thoughts in her heart. After being beaten by Yang Chen 6 times in a row, Zhanxian actually had some admiration for Yang Chen. Although Zhanxian still had a hard mouth, Yang Chen seems to have beaten her when she was in the best state of consciousness. It seems that he did not violate her conditions. However, for Zhanxian's mouth being hard, Yang Chen did not mind. This situation has already been anticipated by Yang Chen. The reason why he has raised 10 challenges was him taking this into account. He wanted to defeat Zhanxian in all aspects and let Zhanxian be convinced by him. It's not the case that Yang Chen wanted to use the benefits of his flying sword to win, but to use his pet to defeat Zhanxian. However, Zhanxian seems to have some misunderstandings. Yang Chen simply retracted Shout Yan and used only the sword. Even if there was no Shout Yan, Yang Chen's skill in the sword was under the control of his middle daching stage spiritual awareness, and the power was not the same. Although there was no thought of killing Zhanxian, but he also won't let Zhanxian have it easy. The flying swords controlled by the two began to meet in the air. However, every impact of the flying sword would cause Zhanxian's mind to surge. Yang Chen's flying sword had great strength. When he hit Zhanxian's flying sword, he could always bring a trace of damage to Zhanxian's flying sword. This was not the damage of the flying sword body, but the connection between Zhanxian and the flying sword was reduced. The flying sword controlled by Yang Chen was extremely fast and very flexible. While hitting Zhanxian's flying sword, he could always maintain enough offensive to make Zhanxian completely immobile. She could only control her own flying sword to resist. But this way, it was the opportunity for Yang Chen's flying sword to hit Zhanxian more frequently. The more the number of impacts, the more Zhanxian found that she could no longer control her flying sword like her finger, and even the defense could not be maintained. Yang Chen did not care about it. After a series of deliberate attacks, Zhanxian's flying sword could no longer be controlled. It directly disconnected from Zhanxian's spiritual awareness and fell to the ground. After experiencing Yang Chen's attack head-on, Zhanxian even felt that her own sea of consciousness was a bit painful. Under the shock in her heart, Yang Chen's flying sword had once again landed on Zhanxian's neck. How about this time? It was not known when Yang Chen had stood opposite Zhanxian and looked at Zhanxian's appearance, and he asked with a smile. Zhanxian just snorted but did not turn her face away. Yang Chen smiled and moved forward. Zhanxian seemed to have felt guilty and she closed her eyes and her lips trembled. It seems that she has been anticipating it. Yang Chen's lips once again kissed Zhanxian's red lips. This time, Yang Chen was no longer just scratching the surface but stayed for a long time. When the red lips that he have been in contact with trembled, then he separated. Not convinced? You can take a break and resume later to continue. Yang Chen once again handed Zhanxian a calming spirit pill and a few cultivating yuan pill and let Zhanxian rest. Just this battle made Zhanxian's spiritual awareness have a certain shock. Her spiritual power was also consumed, she had to rest to restore her prosperity. Zhanxian did not refuse, she has begun to look forward to the next 3 games, she wanted to know what Yang Chen intended to use to defeat herself. As for what she thought about the challenge before, she has already left it behind. When Yang Chen was resting with Zhanxian, he was not idle, but he quickly made a pot of hot tea and gave it to Zhanxian. This was Zhanxian's favorite way to relax. A few cups of hot tea could restore her spirit and help her to relax. It was the most suitable thing at this time. Zhanxian did not reject Yang Chen's good intentions. When Yang Chen made the tea, Zhanxian had been staring at Yang Chen's every move with a very complicated look. She seemed to want to see what kind of person Yang Chen was. For Yang Chen's talent in alchemy, Zhanxian was already full of admiration. Yang Chen was so young and the first 5th grade alchemist master in the mortal world, he was absolutely the object of countless people's admiration. However, Zhanxian never imagined that in battle, Yang Chen would actually be so powerful. The 8th time. When Yang Chen made an 8-figure gesture, Zhanxian's long-awaited spiritual arrow had already been made. However, when the spiritual arrow has just left Zhanxian's finger, an overwhelming momentum filled the valley where the two were fighting. At this moment, Yang Chen released his strongest pressure, he directly mobilized the middle daching stage spiritual awareness and oppressed Zhanxian with it. Influenced by the pressure of Yang Chen, the spiritual arrow that flew out did not have the control of the master and suddenly disappeared into the air. However, Zhanxian had to face the pressure of Yang Chen and she resisted hard. The gap between the two sides was too great. Even if Zhanxian has unique conditions, she has the support of the sect and has excellent cultivation methods. Even if the strength of Zhanxian's spiritual awareness has reached the level of the Yuning stage, but in the face of Yang Chen's daching stage pressure, it was still not enough. The attack of the spiritual awareness was inseparable. Apart from the hard resistance, Zhanxian had no other way. Just after a while, Zhanxian's face appeared sweaty and her lovely body began to tremble involuntarily. Zhanxian couldn't have imagined in her dreams that Yang Chen's spiritual awareness attack was so fierce, so powerful and even made her have no choice but to resist. At this moment, Zhanxian could still maintain a standing position under the pressure of Yang Chen. It was not easy to not fall down. This was still because Yang Chen did not use a technique in the spiritual awareness attack, but simply crushed her with a strong spiritual awareness. If Yang Chen used the attack techniques recorded on the three purities secret arts, Zhanxian has no other possibility except to be directly comatose at the beginning. However, even so, the failure of Zhanxian was now a foregone conclusion. This kind of strong to overbearing attack, her defeat was only a matter of sooner or later. After dozens of breaths, Zhanxian's resistance reached the limit. However, the character of this girl was arrogant. There was no thought of admitting defeat. She kept resisting, her legs were almost unable to support her weight. After 3 or 5 breaths, finally her legs became soft and she slowly fell to the ground. Yang Chen certainly wouldn't look at Zhanxian's body fall to the ground. His body moved and he appeared beside her, he reached out and supported Zhanxian's body and took back his spiritual awareness pressure. Zhanxian did not lose consciousness, but her eyes looked complicated and difficult when she looked at Yang Chen. Yang Chen just smiled. There were 2 calming spirit pills in his mouth, he kissed Zhanxian's lips again and sent the 2 calming spirit pills into her mouth. Yang Chen's move, Zhanxian did not refuse, she shyly closed her eyes and accepted Yang Chen's kindness. "Will you continue?" Yang Chen looked at Zhanxian, who had recovered. After receiving a positive reply, he made a 9 gesture. The 9th. This time, Yang Chen did not use any magic weapon and attacked Zhanxian with his bare hands. Zhanxian's flying sword was met by Yang Chen with 1 punch, but she could not leave any trace on Yang Chen's hand. Every time Yang Chen carried a huge force to attack, he could always leave a huge pit on the ground where Zhanxian was. After dozens of punches, the valley where the 2 were located has been completely sunk to the height of 3 meters altitude. Every punch of Yang Chen was like a huge hammer and the ground was sturdy. The face of Zhanxian finally changed. The power of Yang Chen's simple punch was beyond the expectation of Zhanxian. She never thought that a person could have such tremendous strength that her 2 flying swords were cut off by Yang Chen with empty fists. She thought that Yang Chen's huge body would definitely lack speed. But when Yang Chen chased the attack, Zhanxian discovered that the speed she was proud of was not worth mentioning in front of Yang Chen. If it wasn't for Yang Chen holding back his hands and punch her body, maybe Zhanxian would now be broken. Unable to fight head-on, Zhanxian could only dodge and hide and she finally could not escape in the end as Yang Chen blocked her in a corner. When Yang Chen's arm stretched out, Zhanxian's road to escape was blocked and behind her was a hard rock. When she couldn't escape, Zhanxian had to admit that she was still defeated this time. Not only that, but the defeat made her speechless. Yang Chen didn't use external force, but by only relying on his strong body, great strength and ghostly speed. This was also a battle that made Zhanxian feel powerless. Naturally, Yang Chen just wrapped his arms around her chest and he was very rudely kissing on the red lips of Zhanxian. Zhanxian just sighed in secret but took the initiative to close her eyes and felt the overbearing kiss of Yang Chen. After a long time, the 2 talented people were separated. Yang Chen once again looked at Zhanxian with some inquiries, he seemed to ask her if she wanted to continue. The reluctant Zhanxian certainly nodded, so Yang Chen could only reach out with both hands and stretched out all his fingers, the 10th time. With his hands extended, Yang Chen's arm did not move, but he said directly to Zhanxian, "The last time, let's see who have the strongest spirit power, how about it?" Of course, Zhanxian would not have any opinions. Her magic weapon was not as good as Yang Chen's. Her control over flames was not as good as Yang Chen control over flames. Her spiritual awareness was not as good as Yang Chen's. Her strength was not as good as Yang Chen's. Her speed was not as good as Yang Chen's. If her late Golden stage spiritual power was not as good as Yang Chen's own, then wasn't she useless? But the reality was so cruel. When Zhanxian used all her strength and could not repel Yang Chen's half-step, Zhanxian noticed that it was not good. Waiting until Yang Chen attacked, Zhanxian found her own vulnerability. Yang Chen used 2 methods, one was a positive 5 elements attack and the other was an anti-5 elements attack. Against a 5 elements attack, the spiritual power entering Zhanxian became a huge grinding disc and the spirit of Zhanxian was cleaned up. Then Yang Chen's spiritual power entered the body of Zhanxian. The 5 elements attack, the 5 elements of the spiritual power, instantly destroyed all the resistance of Zhanxian, the same as the bamboo broke into the guilt of Zhanxian. If it wasn't for the timely closing of Yang Chen at the last minute, Zhanxian would be seriously injured. "Zhanxian, marry me." Yang Chen embraced Zhanxian's delicate body with his hands and said the request. 10 challenges, Zhanxian was given, but she lost all. At this moment, where would Zhanxian still have her original pride and persistence, there was still a little cold arrogance of the cold plum fairy. In Yang Chen's arms, like a weak woman who needed gentle care, she nodded shyly. Yang Chen was overjoyed, there was nothing more to be said, and he directly kissed Zhanxian's lips. Zhanxian was no longer reserved. She closed her eyes and took the initiative to hold Yang Chen's neck. She extended her tongue and kissed Yang Chen. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 393. From the point of view in her heart, Zhanxian's petition to Yang Chen was still a must, but she was somewhat unwilling to share him with the other 3 women. However, she also knew that it was impossible to make Yang Chen give up the 3 women, otherwise she wouldn't put forward such a condition. She thought that she could stretch Yang Chen for a long time, but now it seems that she was the silly girl who sits at the bottom of the well. Yang Chen used 10 challenges. Every time he used a completely different way to defeat Zhanxian. Whether it was the usage of a treasure or his cultivation base, Zhanxian was like a toddler in front of Yang Chen, she had no resistance at all. These strong styles have also made Zhanxian completely fascinated. The Tao companion in her mind was such a strong figure. Not only must he be able to brave the world, but he must also be famous. At this point, Yang Chen was almost completely in line with her thoughts. Yang Chen could easily defeat herself 10 times. Zhanxian was not a smug figure, among the experts with the same cultivation base as her, almost no one dares to say that they were her opponent. As for the fame, being the 5th grade alchemist master was enough to make Yang Chen the strongest alchemist master in history. Originally, she wanted to hold back once or twice in the challenge to let Yang Chen complete the challenge. Now that idea seems to be the most ridiculous joke. Yang Chen easily defeated the proudest part of Zhanxian. Such an extraordinary person, plus being her own husband, even if Zhanxian was an iceberg, she would melt in front of Yang Chen. After being completely released, she enjoyed the warmth in Yang Chen's arms. As a proud woman of the sky, Zhanxian has always faced everything alone. No matter what kind of difficulties and obstacles she faces, now Zhanxian finally has an embrace to relax in, so that she could behave as a normal woman, someone to care for her, someone to love her. This feeling brought a person such happiness. When Yang Chen and Zhanxian appeared again in front of Gao Yu and Sun Qingxu, Zhanxian had already restored her usual expression, and the others could not pass it. When she and Yang Chen were alone, the kind of enthusiasm showed, it was even more than Gongsun Ling. I have seen elder sister. Seeing Gao Yu, Zhanxian was somewhat unnatural, but she quickly recovered her calmness and bowed down to Gao Yu. Since Yang Chen has already defeated Zhanxian certainly has to obey her own agreement to marry Yang Chen. In this way, in terms of reason, Gao Yu should be the eldest sister, her age was also the highest among them. Zhanxian has to call Gao Yu elder sister regardless of the aspect. Gao Yu knew the results almost immediately. It's one thing to be able to guess, but it's one thing to watch these things happen. Seeing Zhanxian's greetings, Gao Yu also hurriedly greeted back sisters, don't have to be polite. Sun Qingxu certainly guessed the result. Seeing Zhanxian's performance, she realized that she didn't seem to have officially greeted Gao Yu. She hurriedly learned the way of Zhanxian and also said to Gao Yu, little sister has seen elder sister. Gao Yu was also full of joy after the return of the greetings, holding the hands of the 2 women, she said with a smile, I have not had a good chat with my sisters, I will sit down with my sisters to chart. Before leaving, Gao Yu directed to Yang Chen, the head of the palace, want you to come back to see him immediately afterwards. After that, she took the 2 women and quickly left Yang Chen's alchemy room. The palace master wanted to see Yang Chen and Yang Chen certainly knew what it was for. When Yang Chen challenged Zhanxian, Gao Yu had already given Yang Chen's 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill to the head of the palace. The disciple under their sect was a genius of alchemy that had never appeared in 1,000 years. With the cultivation of the early Jidan stage, he refined a 5th grade medicinal pill and became the mortal world's first 5th grade alchemist master. After receiving this news, the palace master was so excited that he almost shouted out loud. Forced to hold on to his excitement, after the palace master told the other elders, everyone was waiting for Yang Chen to arrive. Their challenge with the cold plum fairy, what is the result? When Yang Chen appeared, the palace master asked him with a smile. Of course, this was just a polite question. When Yang Chen brought back the body of the 2nd city owner from Banyan Tree Immortal's cave, everyone never doubted that there was a master of the Jidan stage that Yang Chen could not defeat, even if it was a master of the Jidan stage who was also a genius. Zhanxian has promised to get married. The master of the palace called Zhanxian a fairy, but in the perspective of Yang Chen, Zhanxian was already his wife, he naturally used a more intimate name. The 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill, was it really made by you? Zhu Chentao, who was next to him, couldn't help it. As the master of the medicinal hall, he was still only a third-grade alchemist master, and Yang Chen has been the optimistic disciple has already reached the level of the fifth-grade alchemist master. The most excited one was him. No one knew more about the difficulty and significance of the fifth-grade alchemist master than Zhu Chentao, although everyone knew that the fifth-grade alchemist master was already a pioneering work for those who have never come before. But as an alchemist master, Zhu Chentao understood more thoroughly and professionally. The reason why there has never been a fifth-grade alchemist master in the mortal world was that because once they exceeded the third grade, each grade upgrade was a huge moat for the alchemists. This was definitely no easier than a person from the beginning of his cultivation to his ascendancy. Even Yang Chen, in fact, also relied on the ability of the profound spirit furnace to become this powerful. The 4.5-grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill was upgraded to the 5th-grade. With his current cultivation, it would not be enough for him to reach that realm. However, no one knew this. What everyone saw was only Yang Chen in front of Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian, starting directly from raw materials and refining the 5th-grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill. In this way, the condition proposed by the Blue Cloud sect was not worth a visit. In other words, in addition to the cold plum fairy Zhanxian, the dancing snow fairy Sun Qingxu was already one of Yang Chen's nominal wife. In the past few days of waiting for Yang Chen, the mood of the master and elders of the palace has been excited and slowly turned into the present joy. Everyone knows that the Pure Yang Palace has a 5th-grade alchemist master now. Others dare not say that this news out loud, let alone the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island that have been handed over with the Pure Yang Palace. Even if it was the Five-Element sect and the Qianqin sect, even if it was the Greatest Heaven sect, it must rethink certain things. From the moment they knew that Yang Chen refined the 5th-grade medicinal pill, the head of the palace and the elders have been immersed in ecstasy. Even in these few days, there has been no practice. Everyone has seen the true rise of the Pure Yang Palace. It is this disciple. In the face of the inquiry of Elder Zhu Chentao, Yang Chen was very respectful to answer. There was no difference between his previous attitude and the current attitude. There was no scorn for others because he became a 5th-grade alchemist master. Although they have seen the 5th-grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill, everyone was still fascinated at the moment when they heard Yang Chen's personal recognition. 5th-grade medicinal pill. In the mortal world, this could almost be said to be a super medicine of the level of a spirit pill. A Lingzi mushroom jade pill was used to treat injuries under the wielding stage. Now after the 5th-grade refining, what kind of medicine would it become? Immediately, everyone thought of the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island, this time coming to Yang Chen to treat the 3 masters of the Daching stage. The 5th-grade medicinal pill was enough to completely cure the wounds of the Daching stage masters. It was self-evident that the 3 masters of the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island would be cured by the Pure Yang Palace. Even if there was no cooperation within the 100,000 mountains in the future, this one single help was enough to let the 2 main sects stand behind the Pure Yang Palace and face any strong enemy. When they thought of the rise of the Pure Yang Palace in the hands of everyone, including the head of the palace, all the elders were excited and shivering. There was no calmness that a wielding stage master should have evident from them. It's not that everyone's state of mind was inadequate, it's really a bit too much of a good news. In the Pill Cauldron sect, there has never been a strong combat master there, but in the few major sects they have a very high status because there were several 4th-grade alchemist masters in the sect. So far, no one dares to have any unkindness about the Pill Cauldron sect because of this. Now there was a 5th-grade alchemist master in the Pure Yang Palace. That was the alchemist master who was more powerful than the Pill Cauldron sect's master. Not mentioning an ordinary martial arts sect, even if it was the Greatest Heaven sect, they had to be cautious when dealing with Yang Chen. As for the killer organization, even when they are given 10 times their courage, they would not dare take the assassination mission of a 5th-grade alchemist master. Not mentioning the 5th-grade alchemist master, as long as it was a 4th-grade alchemist master, that would be a protected great person. If they dared to make a move against Yang Chen, it would absolutely directly provoke the hostile writings of the cultivators in the whole world. Whoever was impatient to die could try. No one could guarantee that he would not ask for the help of an alchemist master in his life, especially an alchemist master who has mastered the refinement of the heaven-seizing pill and the questioning inner heart pill, not to mention a 5th-grade alchemist master. The 1st-grade questioning inner heart pill has been able to let the master of the Daching stage to break through. What effect would the 2nd-grade pill have, except for the people around Yang Chen? No one knew. Not to mention the 3rd grade, 4th grade, or even the 5th grade. The same was true for other medicinal pills, and it may be rare to take advantage of it. However, it was easy to refine it. The 2nd-grade inner sensing pill would allow a master of the peak Jitan stage to break through to form their nascent soul, and the effect of the 3rd grade, 4th grade and 5th grade could be expected. How many cultivators trapped on the edge of their breakthrough would regard Yang Chen and the Pure Yang Palace as saviors? These people, would they not have a few masters and friends? The combined strength would be enough to make the big sects feel ashamed. Even if it was a few major sects, the medicinal pills that could make people break through was only on the level of the nascent soul pill. At the point of crossing the tribulation to ascend, there was hardly any medicinal pill to help. But now it was different. The effect of the 3rd grade, 4th grade and 5th grade inner sensing pill does not know how, but the effect of the questioning inner heart pill was actually real. After Wang Yong and the 3 masters of the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island, who have just been promoted to the Daching stage, was known, who would doubt it again? In the eyes of other people, the Pure Yang Palace was not like some big sects, and it doesn't have the secret recipe of the nascent soul pill. Of course, the secret of protection was normal, and the same was true for the Pure Yang Palace, but other sects people, including those who want to get these medicines, were difficult. It was impossible to rely on people to ask for help, it's a joke to even try to force them. Even if they wanted to use spirit stones to exchange, they couldn't get it. This was the advantage of a sect disciple, and it was impossible to give it to outsiders. However, the Pure Yang Palace was different. At least now when the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island seek medicinal pills from the Pure Yang Palace, as long as they pay enough price and prepare their own raw materials, the Pure Yang Palace would still give them face and refine it, which made everyone have more good feelings for the Pure Yang Palace. Previous news did not come out, but after the Pure Yang Palace, Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island emerged with several consecutive masters of the Daching stage, the reputation of the questioning inner heart pills was not lost, it was no longer the secret of the big sects. The masters who were trapped in the Pequening stage and Daching stage saw hope immediately. For these people, they were not afraid of how difficult the raw materials could be to obtain. Their fear was that there was raw material, but no one to help refine it. The reason why the Pill Cauldron sect would have such a status was because they were willing to help with the same refining and to improve their alchemy level. Even if the alchemy fails, everyone was still rushing to them. The Pure Yang Palace did not close their door on everyone who came to seek medicinal pills, and there was also a 5th grade alchemist master to help out. The master who wanted to ask for a medicinal pill naturally knew how to choose. In this way, the Pure Yang Palace had equivalent to countless masters who were willing to secretly maintain the Pure Yang Palace. Anyone who wanted to move against the Pure Yang Palace must think clearly about the end of the insurmountable masters, even if it was the greatest heaven sect, they were no exception. Yang Chen is the young sect master of the sect, does anyone have any objection? On this occasion, the lord of the palace finally presented the proposal that had been conceived for a long time in front of the elders. Who would have an objection? Not to mention that Yang Chen's merits for the sect in these years, being the 5th grade alchemist master alone, was enough to make the sect put all their treasures on Yang Chen's development. This motion was almost unanimously passed by the elders who were present during the time of less than 10 breaths. When the hands were raised, the elders did not even hesitate. So, from this time, Yang Chen is the young sect master of the sect. The head of the palace directly announced you can dispatch any sect disciple as you see fit, and the resources of sect can also be used by you. Given the status, it gives the power of the corresponding status. However, compared with the status of a young sect master, the power to be able to arbitrarily dispatch sect disciples and sect resources was too big, but none of the elders present had objections, and it passed all the votes. Since the conditions of the 2 major sects have been met, this old man will make another trip and set the marriage of Yang Chen and the 2 fairies. The palace master was watching Yang Chen, the more he looked, the more satisfied he was. He said the sect must prepare a grand wedding for you. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 394. The Wedding Date. The next discussion was now the focus. Yang Chen was already a real 5th grade alchemist master at this moment, and Yang Chen also said that the 3 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pills was to heal the 3 Daching masters of the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island, so this news was impossible to hide. In this case, then Yang Chen becoming a 5th grade alchemist master would be known by all the cultivators. Being the 5th grade alchemist master would definitely be a blockbuster explosion in the cultivation world, it was definitely on the level of nuclear bombs. It would definitely make a big wave in the whole cultivation world that cannot be suppressed. The Pure Yang Palace has such a big character, it would definitely rise strongly. Now the palace master and the elders were going to discuss how to take the most initiative in the coming days. Of course, the first question was to determine whether Yang Chen was willing to refine medicinal pills for other sects or cultivators. If there is a high reward, of course this disciple is willing. Yang Chen replied with a smile. In fact, he has already refined pills not only for the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island, but he also refined medicinal pills for the treatment of the Black Tiger predecessor injury, and even this 5th grade medicinal pills could be regarded as an exchange with the two major sects. Yang Chen really did not give thought to the idea of refining for other sects. However, in the future, if there is a cultivator whose realm is lower than the Yuning stage, he cannot find this disciple for refining. Yang Chen then added another sentence: the medicinal pills that is lower than the Yuning class, this disciple will only refine them to the pure Yang Palace's disciples. Now Yang Chen was already a 5th grade alchemist master. Anyone who wanted to come to Yang Chen to refine a few foundation stage pills, it was really below the standards of a 5th grade alchemist master. This limitation was also normal. Of course, the 2nd grade inner sensing pills, which could be used in the Jitan stage, Yang Chen would refine, but only to the pure Yang Palace. This is natural. The palace master directly nodded in agreement. A 5th grade alchemist master would not be able to refine medicinal pills for just anybody. Even if Yang Chen and the pure Yang Palace were willing, those big masters who were waiting for their turn would never be happy to see it. In my opinion, it is better to set a deadline. Zhu Chentao, the medicinal hall master, quickly said. You can't delay the cultivation of the young sect master. If you delay it by refining for others, the gain will not equal the loss. In this regard, Zhu Chentao has experience, and he knew how to rationally allocate the time of alchemy and cultivation. This proposal was very pertinent. Well, this must be considered. Everyone nodded. Everyone understood that Yang Chen would definitely make a move to refine for a master of the Yuning stage, or even a Daching stage master. The medicinal pills they needed couldn't be completed in a few days, it would take at least in units of years. If Yang Chen was dragged down by alchemy, his cultivation would be slightly reduced. This time must be fixed. How about making a move once in every 50 years? Wang Yong, as his master ancestor, of course he considered his own grand disciple. He immediately said the higher the cultivation base of Yang Chen is, the greater his grasp over alchemy would be. The one who wants to ask for a pill will understand it. 50 years. Some people may not wait. The master of the palace said he knew more than anyone knows what a 5th grade alchemist master means. The 3rd grade alchemist masters in the Pill Cauldron sect were almost in short supply. In the decades after Deng Yi refined the heaven-seizing pill, he finally promoted to the 4th grade alchemist master realm by relying on the proceeds from the refining of the heaven-seizing pill, and now he was so busy that his feet doesn't moisten. For a 5th grade alchemist master, it was estimated that people would step through the threshold of the impossible to visit him. It must be known that the one who could ask for help from the sect was definitely a master of the Daching stage or the Pequening stage, and everyone else was not qualified. Even if it was a sect which was asking for their help, at least it must be the same as the 2nd-class sect. These people who would come forward to ask for it, the pure Yang Palace, sometimes would not necessarily be able to block the pressure. The medicinal materials are to be self-supplied, the pill recipe could be supplied, or they can use this disciple's pill recipe. The success of alchemy cannot be guaranteed. After listening to a few words, Yang Chen finally said, if the reward is enough. If these all agreed upon, making a move once in 20 years is enough. 20 years, this time was certainly more acceptable than 50 years. As for the conditions that Yang Chen said, almost every alchemy master has the same requirements. He was a 5th grade alchemist master with almost no specials requirements. If this was not accepted by the people who ask for a pill, then they were not sincere. If it was not as a last resort, like in the case of the Daching stage master of the two major sects being severely injured, who would waste an opportunity to make a request from a 5th grade alchemist master? Since it was for the visits, naturally, Yang Chen has the final say. At the same time, the affirmation of the sect would not only be one or two, of course, there must be a sequence. Who would give it to whom, and of course, Yang Chen's wishes, it depends on whether the compensation they have prepared could impress Yang Chen. To put it bluntly, Yang Chen now has the qualification to wait for a better price, even if it was a master of the Daching stage, he has to satisfy Yang Chen when he asks for a favor. No one would be willing to offend a 5th grade alchemist master, which meant that at the same time, all the masters who were looking forward to Yang Yan's help to refine the medicinal pills would also be offended. As soon as this news came out, there would be no killer who dared to take over the assassination of Yang Chen. No one would hope that when they take over the rewards, they would become enemies with hundreds of Daching stage masters and countless sects. This was the reality. Even if it was the greatest heaven sect, if they wanted to move against Yang Chen, they must take measures. Yang Chen was now the treasure of the entire cultivation world. Even if the greatest heaven sect has always been a leader of the Tao sects, they would not dare to offend all the sects. It was even possible that the greatest heaven sect too would come to seek help in refining. It should be known that in the case of the Secret Plane, the Blue Cloud Sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island together had 3 masters of the Defying stage who were seriously injured, while the Greatest Heaven Sect also had 3 seriously injured. If they don't want to lose 3 Defying masters after hundreds of years, they would have to ask for Yang Chen's help. As for whether Yang Chen was willing to help them in alchemy, it was based on Yang Chen's own mood. The initiative was in the hands of Yang Chen, and the Pure Yang Palace, the Greatest Heaven Sect were helpless in the situation. When they thought of the face the Greatest Heaven Sect would make when the time came, everyone's heart was full of expectations. After so many years of humiliation, they finally got to the time of slowly harvesting. A little bit of watching the Greatest Heaven Sect's decline was the design of their own disciple. When the Greatest Heaven Sect came to beg for their help, what kind of things would more refreshing? 20 years of time is too short to show your preciousness. The master of the palace still remembered to make a decision. According to the conditions of Yang Chen, 25 years at a time, presumably no one will be dissatisfied. That's it. The head of the palace was right and this time was confirmed. Now they just have to wait for Yang Chen's medicinal pills to cause a sensation when it arrived at the 2 major sects. In the more than 2 years of Yang Chen's alchemy, Zhanxian Ling also came back to the Pure Yang Palace. When Yang Chen went to see the head of the palace, the 4 women had already rescheduled their positions. Bao Yu was obviously the big sister of all the women. There was no doubt that no one has any objections. Zhanxian, from her age, succumbed to the second sister position, Zhanxian Ling ranked 3rd, Sun Qingxu became the youngest sister. When Yang Chen was absent, the 4 women were very harmonious. It seemed that the 4 women were clearly divided into 2 small groups. Gao Yu and Zhanxian Ling were the same as they were from the Pure Yang Palace, and they were very close, while Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian were more closer with each other. Yang Chen looked at the 4 women together and there was a kind of pride that could not be said in him. In the past, he dared not to have such a luxury. He was able to take the famous dancing snow fairy and cold plum fairy as his wives and also accepted his senior apprentice sister and his master. Even if it was the Jade Emperor at the time, it was estimated that he did not dare to think like this. Now, it would become a reality soon. How could it not let Yang Chen have that kind of proud satisfaction? Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian finally arrived at the moment to return to their respective sects. On their bodies, they each took 2 5th-grade Lingzi mushroom jade pills. The master of the palace decided to travel with the 2 women. First, with Sun Qingxu to the Blue Cloud Sect, then he and Zhanxian would go to the Green Jade Immortal. The conditions proposed by the 2 major sects, Yang Chen has fully satisfied it. Naturally he wanted to ask the 2 main sects about the marriage. In this regard, the 2 women did not object, they could only comply while blushing. At the moment, the palace master was also the elder of Yang Chen. They were like shy little daughters in front of the head of the palace. Reluctantly bidding farewell to Yang Chen, the 2 women set off with the head of the palace. Yang Chen was watching the team until they got out of his own line of sight and then he relinquished. Asking for the marriage alliance was the job of head of the palace and Yang Chen has other arrangements to make. So far, Yang Chen has been away from the Cyprus for 32 years. Yang Chen said earlier that after 30 years, he would go to pick up Mu Bai and his family and return them to the Pure Yang Palace. It was also time to complete it. Zhanxian Ling has been wandering around the side of the Dao sects. It was said that it was to gain experience, but it was basically to complement the mountain river geographical map. In the past few years, she has been able to go through the most central parts of the domain and at least a map like the East China Sea has been added to the geographical map. Yang Chen would go to the northern part of the monster race domain so he could go together with Zhanxian Ling to make up all of this geography. When they prepared for the journey, they set foot on the road to the north. When the head of the palace came to the Blue Cloud Sect this time, he held his head up all the way. Both Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian knew why the head of the palace had such an attitude, but no one has said anything. Sun Qingxu was still feeling very sweet in her heart and had more expectations. The appearance of the 5th-grade Lingzi mushroom jade pills, as if it was a nuclear bomb, stunned the entire high-ranking members of the Blue Cloud Sect. Sect Master Lu looked at the 2 5th-grade Lingzi mushroom jade pills sent by his disciple, and his brain seemed to be short-circuited, he lost the ability to think. He thought that following the restriction of the 5th-grade medicinal pill, Yang Chen could be married to Sun Qingxu when he reached the Defying stage, and it would not hurt the relationship between the 2 parties. This was good for both parties and in order to meet the requirements, Yang Chen would be more diligent in researching alchemy, which would bring more benefits to the Blue Cloud Sect. The preparation of the 5th-grade Kai replenishing pill was the escape route left for Yang Chen. At that time, the Blue Cloud Sect would marry Sun Qingxu to him. Yang Chen would certainly be grateful to the Blue Cloud Sect for this arrangement and the Blue Cloud Sect could easily obtain a future alchemist master. The friendship of the alchemist master, even in the spiritual world, would also be held tightly in the hands of the Blue Cloud Sect. The Green Jade Immortal Island was also having the same plan. They first set the conditions, and then in the final gift, they would provide means of achieving it. The two major sects were well prepared. However, all of the preparation turned into a bubble, with the two 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pills in his hands. The foresight of making such arrangements before has been completely shocked. Seeing this, the sages and the elders of the Blue Cloud sect were shocked and could no longer speak. The authenticity of the medicinal pills no longer needed to be verified. The Blue Cloud sect's medicinal hallmaster took a full look at the two pills, except for being stunned, there was only marvel at him. Sun Kingsu has already said that this medicinal pill was refined under her and Zhanxian's eyelids, and there was no such thing as it being a fake. Yang Chen actually has become a 5th grade alchemist master. This news directly shocked Sect Master Lu and the several elders in the Daching stage. Was there really a presence of a 5th grade alchemist master in this mortal world? Sect Master Lu has seen a 5th grade medicinal pill before, but it was only after the ancestor's consciousness clone came from the heavenly court to refine it, and it was only the simplest Kai replenishing pill. In the case of the 99% memory loss of the predecessor, it was only at the last moment that he able to refine it successfully, because he has refined continuously for a long time, that it was almost like an instinct. After that, the consciousness lost its life. Now, this Lingzi mushroom jade pill, which claims to be able to treat all the injuries below the Yuning stage, its 5th grade has appeared. How could this not cause a shock? Yang Chen, what kind of heaven-defying monstrous talent was he? What kind of shit great luck did the Pure Yang Palace have to be able to get such an outstanding disciple? After the initial shock, Sect Master Lu, who was an experienced man who had been in charge of the Blue Cloud sect for many years, soon recovered his ability to think. Such an excellent alchemist master who was so heaven-defying, if the Blue Cloud sect does not grasp onto him, then they were the biggest fool in the world. When is the wedding? The most direct answer was to ask this question. Was there a more important thing to tie Yang Chen and the Blue Cloud sect together than them immediately getting married? First set the marriage, wait for the two injured elders to recover from their injury, and then we will have the wedding. The master of the palace has never had a moment when in front of the Blue Cloud sect master, he felt so proud, even at the time they came to ask for a questioning inner heart pill, he never felt this feeling. The meaning of palace master was very clear, he wanted them to see the authenticity of the medicinal pills before the wedding. This medicinal pill was originally refined for the two injured Daching stage masters, and when they were cured, it would prove that the medicinal pill was not a falsification. At that time, if they determined when the wedding would be held, the Blue Cloud sect would not have any excuse. This was not the condition that the head of the palace thought the opportunity to respond to the Blue Cloud sect would be, but at this moment, the initiative has undergone earth-shaking changes. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 395. Recovery. Everyone wanted to know how the efficacy of these 5th grade medicinal pills were. Therefore, everyone including the Pure Yang Palace Master, Sect Master Lu and the top executives of the Blue Cloud sect appeared in front of the two injured Daching stage elders. The two elders who were resting in silence did not know what had happened. They were carried by a number of familiar elders and servants to a well-arranged room. Then they saw a bunch of people looking at them with anticipation. Because of the serious injury, the two could not control their appearance at all. At the moment, both of them were the image of old women, white hair, wrinkles on their faces, and even a little bit of gasping. The muscles of their whole body were slack, with a bit of unnatural shackles. At first glance, they were like two old women who were waiting for death to come for them, they did not have any likeness to being master experts. The two medicinal pills were sent to the hands of two people, and their intentions were self-evident. The two elders of the Daching stage, even if they were behind closed doors all their life, how could they be ignorant when they found the extraordinary medicinal pills in their hands? The 5 pill marks on the medicinal pills directly shocked the two people. If they were not forcibly suppressing their injury and their mind was not very determined, maybe both of them would be shocked by this medicinal pills, and they would be vomiting blood. 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill, who has seen this kind of heaven-defying thing before? In the eyes of the two injured elders, this was less than an immortal pill. Almost without hesitation, the two people each took a pill, and they forcibly went into a cultivation state and began to digest the medicine in the medicinal pills. However, this move was purely redundant. Once medicinal pill entered them, it turned into a warm current and quickly penetrated into the limbs of the two. Their meridians that have been broken, under the enthusiasm of this heat flow, their recovery began. The silky and arrogant but very gentle medicinal force began to repair the damage of the meridians little by little. Every moment, both people could perceive changes in their body. The meridians, which were completely uncontrolled, were recovering little by little, and the two elders of the Daching stage were simply overjoyed. The seriousness of the injury was because the damage to the body has caused them to not even be able to use their own spiritual power to heal, nor could they recover with the help of other people's strength. Now that the pill was healing them little by little, their control over their body was also strengthened bit by bit. This was a harbinger of recovery. The wounds of the Meridians recovered by about 1/10 in a short period of time. Although they could not be compared with the period in which they flourished, under this state, they were able to begin to slowly mobilize their own spiritual power. However, in the state of serious injury, the spiritual power was also consumed by 7 or 8 times faster, and only a few of the hairsprings were scattered throughout the body. Even if they were under the control of the two people, they could only barely mention the slightest. Even so, this was an amazing improvement, compared with the fact that they could not use a little spiritual power before. It was completely like heaven and earth. But this spiritual power intake, it seemed that the reparation of the meridians also speeds up the process. The internal organs began to join the process of being repaired. The internal organs that was almost broken by the severe damage seems to be stuck by the force. One place, warm and break the wound, slowly carried out the bonding. The pill was overbearing, it never stopped, but it did not bring a trace of damage to the body. In the impression of the two Daching stage elders, just after a while, the body that could not be controlled has been given signs of obeying command. This process of improvement was constantly deepening, and more spiritual power has begun to join the process. For their own body, there was no better recovery method than their own spiritual strength. Thanks to the potency, the spiritual power of the two elders began to recover slowly. It was a process of mutual promotion and complementation. The pills repaired the meridians and internal organs, allowing the two elders to slowly mobilize their spiritual power. In turn, the spiritual power accelerated the healing of the wound and promoted the potency. The further episodes complemented each other. The healing process was getting faster and faster, and the pill seems to have begun to penetrate the sea of consciousness of the two elders. Most of the elders' sea of consciousness had been destroyed, quickly discovered that the sea of consciousness that had almost collapsed was slowly rejuvenating, slowly expanding, and their spiritual awareness was rapidly increasing. The recovery of the spiritual awareness in turn led to the resurgence. The recovery of the sea of consciousness was also a positive process. Next to them and staring at the two elders were the Blue Cloud sect's high-ranking members and the head of the palace. They were surprised to see that the two elders who were already devastated to the extreme with only a little bit of life in front of them were like two old trees that slowly sprouted sprouts, and their little bit of life became full of vitality. With more and more vitality, the aura of the two elders from the beginning has gradually stabilized. They no longer had the image of the old woman. The wrinkles have also been reduced a lot, although they still had white hair, but it was already very full of spirit. This process has been constantly changing, and the aura of the two elders has begun to slowly increase. The aura of the masters of the Daching stage was also returning to the two. Their breathing that was originally urgent was gradually slowing down, becoming more long and dense, and the spiritual power of the two elders was also gathered. At this point, everyone made a sigh of relief. At least in the current situation, the worst kind of injury has been cured. Even if the pill has no effect anymore, the two elders could recover from their own cultivation base. Within a few decades, they could become Daching stage masters again. The previous injury, even if it was a few hundred years, it could not be restored, and now it could be restored in a few decades. The effectiveness of the drug could be seen. However, this was not complete. Just in the eyes of the people who are nervous and expecting, in just a short period of 1 month, the two great masters who could almost be said that they were waiting to die, have been reborn. Their wrinkles disappeared completely, and the appearance of the two dying elders also returned to the appearance of two middle-aged women. Apart from their white hair, there was no longer any trace of them being old women. The momentum of the two has been rising all the way, going straight to their peak momentum. A month later, almost at the same time, the two white-haired people stood up and their whole body was swaying, and their momentum was soaring. Where was the injury from before? The two women looked at each other as if they had a heart and soul. They stood on the opposite side of Sect Master Lu and gave a ceremonial bow. They said in unison, "Greetings, Sect Master." This paying of respect, it could almost be said that the two women have completely turned to Sect Master Lu's side. Everyone understood the preciousness of the 5th grade medicinal pills, and such medicinal pills were obviously not refined by the Blue Cloud sect, nor were they owned by the Blue Cloud sect. As the users of the 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pills, they knew more than anyone the capability of these two pills, and as the elders of the Blue Cloud sect, they also knew what the sect would have to pay for these two drugs. The price of that Sect Master Lu would owe would be enormous. The grace of life and the resources of the questioning inner heart pills in the hands of Sect Master Lu were enough to make anyone completely become submissive to Sect Master Lu. Even if their injuries were caused by the fact that Sect Master Lu sent them out to find a secret plane. However, both women knew that Sect Master Lu did not force them, but asked their opinions. They were also promised that they would be allowed to choose one half of the benefits from the secret plane, so they were tempted and they couldn't blame others for their misfortune. When they arrived at the realm of the Daching stage, the two became aware of karma and they could see it clearly, so the two women did not hesitate to support Sect Master Lu. For Sect Master Lu, this was simply an unexpected surprise. The effectiveness of the two Daching stage elders who originally opposed her also meant that she had monopolized the Blue Cloud sect and there would be no objection in the near future against any decision taken. The Blue Cloud sect would also have solidarity within their interior, which was even more ecstatic than that of the two Daching stage elders. Everyone was pleasantly surprised and there was no doubt about the efficacy of the 5th grade medicinal pill anymore. Naturally, Yang Chen, who was able to refine this kind of pill, has become the object that everyone has to look up to. Even the Blue Cloud sect, a super sect with all their masters of alchemy, could not match the height that Yang Chen, an alchemy master, could achieve. Sect Master, these 5th grade medicinal pills, where did it come from? The two white-haired people almost asked this question at the same time. This question was already buried in their heart as long as they took the medicinal pills. Without asking, it simply made them feel like they couldn't stand it. This is the healing medicine that Yang Chen, the master of alchemy in the Pure Yang Palace, specially made for you. Sect Master Lu did not hide anything and quickly replied. Pure Yang Palace's Yang Chen. The two suddenly became shocked. He is a 5th grade alchemist master. It was not the first time they have heard of Yang Chen's name. He refined the questioning inner heart pills. Now he has refined a 5th grade medicinal pill. According to their knowledge, Yang Chen was only a junior in the Jidan stage. How was it possible? Little Shu and Green Jade Immortal Island Shy Zhanxian witnessed Yang Chen's alchemy. Sect Master Lu forcibly suppressed his shock and pretended to calmly say this. Now no one has doubts about the authenticity of the 5th grade medicinal pills, but this fact was really shocking to accept. There was a 5th grade alchemist master in the mortal world and it was a 5th grade alchemist master in the early Jidan stage. What if he was promoted to the Yuning stage or Daching stage? 6th grade. 7th grade. Not to mention the spiritual world, even if he was placed in the immortal world, such a grade was already a supermaster in the alchemy world and now he was only in the mortal world. The monstrous talent could not be perfectly used to express Yang Chen anymore, they could only use a phrase to describe the current state of Yang Chen, and that was that his future was boundless. Such a Tao of alchemy grandmaster, if the Blue Cloud sect missed him, they would be the biggest fools in heaven and earth. At this time, the most important thing was to firmly grasp onto Yang Chen. The person most proud right now was the palace master. He saw with his own eyes that Yang Chen's medicinal pills cured two seriously wounded Daching stage masters who had almost completely lost their cultivation base in just 1 month. The efficacy of these 5th grade medicinal pills would no longer be suspected, even if he was not the refiner of the medicinal pills he still felt the sincere pride. Even in the face of so many masters of the Daching stage, in front of the top powers of the Blue Cloud sect, the head of the palace could now swagger, and he did not have the same kind of state before that was slightly with a little carelessness. He really became an equal with everyone present, all this must be attributed to Yang Chen's 5th grade medicinal pills. The group returned to the hall of the Blue Cloud sect again, and the guest was seated. The marriage of Yang Chen and Sun Qingxu was put on the agenda again. They should get engaged first, as for the day of marriage, we set it at a later date. The initiative has undergone a complete change, and the Blue Cloud sect has become an urgent one, not the Pure Yang Palace, and the head of the palace was full of enthusiasm. Yang Chen also has been said that the cultivation of his current body refining cultivation method should not be broken. When the refining is successful, he will be married. Everyone has seen Yang Chen's body shape. They all understand that Yang Chen was cultivating a unique body refining technique. The palace master said this, but no one could refute it. Yang Chen couldn't ruin his cultivation just to marry Sun Qingxu. Fortunately, it was an acceptable idea from the palace master to get them engaged first and set their status first. Everyone was willing to agree. As long as there was this status, plus the friendship between Yang Chen and Sun Qingxu, Yang Chen would still be related to the Blue Cloud sect. Next, in addition to agreeing on the details of the engagement, the palace master took the initiative to let them know that Yang Chen would be willing to refine a requested pill once in 25 years, those conditions must be set to the Blue Cloud sect. For the Blue Cloud sect, this was good news. Yang Chen became a 5th grade alchemist master, but he was still willing to refine for outsiders. Thanks to the relationship between Sun Qingxu and Yang Chen, the Blue Cloud sect could also grab the first move, not to mention that the Blue Cloud sect and the Pure Yang Palace have been cooperating for several decades. As for the success rate of the alchemy materials, it was not worth a trip. The Blue Cloud sect would not care about this. The head of the palace this time came to the sect to ask for an engagement and he achieved a satisfactory result. He set the marriage. Yang Chen and Sun Qingxu have the status of a husband and wife and they have treated the two masters of the Blue Cloud sect. The cooperation between the Pure Yang Palace and Blue Cloud sect was even closer. As for the rewards of Yang Chen for the treatment of the two masters, the Blue Cloud sect would naturally decide on it in the coming days. Compared with the winning over of a 5th grade alchemist master, the property used would not be cared for by the Blue Cloud sect. What was used to reward Yang Chen? It was a matter worthy of scrutiny, it must be worthy of the occasion. I heard that someone outside has a reward for killing Yang Chen. Is there such a thing? When he sent away the head of the palace and Zhanxian, the first sentence of Sect Master Lu when he returned to the main hall was to ask this question. There are some rumors. The elder of the foreign affairs hurriedly replied, it is said that the reward is not low and many people are tempted. Who is the one who checked it? Who took the reward? Sect Master Lu, on the surface, seemed to be calm and said, after you find out, you can kill them all. After that, we will seek and make a move against him. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 396. Heaven-defying news. It was exactly the same as the expression of the Blue Cloud sect. When the 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill was in her hand, the face of the Green Jade Immortal Island sect master was also shocked. In this world, there was actually a 5th grade medicinal pill and a 5th grade master of alchemy. The most shocking part was that it was Yang Chen, a younger generation junior, actually became such a miraculous figure. In addition to the shock, the island master suddenly thought of another problem. Since Yang Chen has already refined the 5th grade medicinal pill, doesn't that mean that Sun Qingxu was already Yang Chen's wife? If this was the case, then the condition of Zhanxian must be stuck. Wasn't the Green Jade Immortal Island alienated from Yang Chen? When the gaze of inquiry turned to the face of Zhanxian, the clever Zhanxian did not wait for the island master to ask, and she took the initiative to admit the result, reporting to the island master. This disciple was also defeated by Yang Chen. After saying this, she added a sentence. I was defeated 10 times, using different methods. This time, the island master was even more shocked. To say that Yang Chen was very talented in alchemy, so he became a 5th grade alchemist master, at least there was still a possibility for that to happen. After all, Yang Chen has refined the heaven-seizing pill and the questioning inner heart pills, these heaven-defying pills, and he became a grandmaster alchemist. That's what it deserves, but it's just a little earlier. However, as the island master of the Green Jade Immortal Island, knew how many of the female disciples of her own sect were trained and how strong they were. Not to mention that it was a junior in the early Jidan stage, even if it was now a few new masters in the sect, they would not necessarily be the opponent of Zhanxian. However, Zhanxian actually said that she was defeated by Yang Chen. How could this not surprise the island master? It was normal to say that Zhanxian would hold back a little bit. However, after 10 times, Zhanxian was defeated by 10 different methods. This was not her holding back, with the character of Zhanxian, it was impossible to make her hold back and lose 10 times. Moreover, looking at Zhanxian's expression, it was completely convincing and oral, and with a little shyness. How could the island master not understand? This was the appearance of Zhanxian, who has been convinced by Yang Chen. This was what the island lord did not think of in any way. In her mind, she thought that if Yang Chen at least relied on the 6th grade fire seed that she sent to him and he cultivated to the late Yuning stage, perhaps by 1 or 2 times when Zhanxian was injured, he could gain a victory. Unexpectedly, the arrangement of the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island were just raised by Yang Chen, and Yang Chen had directly satisfied it with the most powerful method. It seemed that they still imagined Yang Chen as a simple person, a person who could survive the pursuit of a master in the late Daching stage. How could he become so simple? Fortunately, after asking for the request, she immediately sent Zhanxian to contact him and gave Yang Chen the solution, indicating that she was not martyrdom. Otherwise, the island master did not know how to alleviate this unintentional contradiction. As for the palace master seeking for an engagement, the island master naturally gave her promise, and no words such as conditions were mentioned. The 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill has passed the test of 2 Daching stage masters of the Blue Cloud sect, and there was no problem, so it was directly sent to the injured elder. The high-ranking members were also concentrated on the side of the injured elder, nervously watching the changes after the elder took the medicinal pill. Although the 2 elders of the Blue Cloud sect have proved that the medicinal pills were effective, no one has ever seen the 5th grade medicinal pill, and they have never seen the appearance of the 5th grade medicinal pill, so they had to be cautious. In the same month or so, the injured elder changed from an old woman to a middle-aged woman. However, the only regret was that her original black hair became white and it could not be changed for a while. But it also added up to the style of the elder, white-haired people had quite a charm that made the people shine. Perhaps it was the credit of the island master for getting her the medicinal pills. Perhaps it was the shock brought by the 5th grade medicinal pill. After the wounded elder was cured, she also expressed her loyalty to the island master. Perhaps the main reason was the questioning inner heart pills. She was not sure of her chances of crossing the tribulation to ascend, so she was hoping to rely on the questioning inner heart pills, and the refiner of the questioning inner heart pill has become the only 5th grade alchemist master in the mortal world. It could only explain that he could provide better medicinal pills in the future. The relationship between the island master and Yang Chen was good, this was naturally also a key. Zhanxian's status in the Green Jade Immortal Island was not low. This time, it has become even more impressive. No one could have imagined that Zhanxian would have strongly predicted that the man she was looking for would have such a good future, only to show her unique vision come to pass. Now Zhanxian has passed the first responsibility of the island master, and Yang Chen has given her a status. Everyone knew that Yang Chen was willing to take up alchemy once every 25 years. This kind of opportunity of course needed to be grasped. Naturally, Zhanxian, who has a close relationship with Yang Chen, has become highly valued in the eyes of everyone. In this situation, the palace master has seen it once before, but this was the chores of others. It was natural that the palace master would not say anything more. Moreover, the wife of his own disciple was valued in her own sect. Of course, it was a good thing, and the palace master was happy to see it. On his visit to the Green Jade Immortal Island, the head of the palace also received the highest standard of reception, once again bringing the relationship between the two sides closer. The palace master was satisfied when he returned to the Puryang Palace. Yang Chen was already a 5th grade alchemist master and was willing to refine medicinal pills for everyone. It was also spread among the two major sects, however, this was a secret. At least the Puryang Palace has not announced it publicly. Everyone was happy that the news had not spread so that they could dominate resources. However, some things were doomed to be unstoppable. The 3 masters of the major sects, they had serious injuries, but all recovered to normal within a short period of 3 months, and everyone was having very strange white hair, how could it not be rumored? Under the entanglement of several experts, the 2 major sects couldn't completely block the news. Because of saving face, they could only tell each other that this was the effect of a medicinal pill refined by Yang Chen of the Puryang Palace. At the same time, the news of Yang Chen becoming a 5th grade alchemist master has begun to spread among those big people. In the circle of experts that the little people couldn't imagine, there was a storm of turmoil. A 5th grade alchemist master was enough for everyone to pay attention. At this time, it was no longer a question of unbelief or not. The recovery of the 3 seriously injured Daching masters has already explained everything. Did they not see the 3 Daching stage masters of the greatest heaven sect still lying down and waiting to die? There were pre-existing rumors in the circle, but everyone has also learned the good news that Yang Chen was willing to refine for others. In the rest of the day, the Foreign Affairs Hall of the Puryang Palace was like the most popular market. In recent days, people have started to come to the sect. The 5th grade alchemist master, almost everyone who heard it was shocked, which could be described as a miracle. Was there anything more enchanting than a 5th grade alchemist master in the mortal world? Then, the first reaction after everyone was awakened was how to set up a good relationship with a 5th grade alchemist master with no exceptions. What was Yang Chen like? What kind of medicinal pills was he willing to refine and what grades were things they needed to know? Some people have been trapped in certain realms for a long time. The most important thing was to ask for the kind of medicinal pills such as the questioning inner heart pills, and they really understand what they need. They couldn't immediately fly into the Puryang Palace to see Yang Chen. In the past, if they had been in contact with the Puryang Palace, naturally they were very happy. Those who didn't have any contact with them, they all began to tell their younger generations that in the future, they should be very polite to the people of the Puryang Palace. In short, in just a few months, the disciples who went out from the Puryang Palace seemed to have noticed this difference. The big guys and masters began to rush to the direction of the Puryang Palace intentionally or unintentionally, but in any case, they should leave a good impression on the side of the Puryang Palace. Even if it was the high-level executives of the greatest heaven sect, even if they hated Yang Chen to the core, they couldn't help but be shocked by this news. The person who they wanted to deal with it in secret has become a 5th grade alchemist master, and moreover, he was willing to refine medicinal pills for other sects. This made them feel like being slapped with a thunderbolt. If it was only a 4th grade alchemist master, then the greatest heaven sect themselves has such an alchemy master, and they would not care. But now Yang Chen has reached the 5th grade, the first person who has reached such a level in the mortal world, and has the complete pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill, and the heaven seizing pill, and he also had the 2nd grade inner sensing pill as his ultimate weapon. It has already established his lofty position in the minds of the cultivators. At this time, let alone killing Yang Chen, even if they revealed their intentions of killing Yang Chen, they would absolutely be against all the masters who were trapped in a certain realm and cannot be promoted. The greatest heaven sect could suppress several small sects with their own ancestral strength, suppressing some rogue cultivators, but they would never dare to be so brazen and become enemies with the cultivation world. And sending people to kill Yang Chen would make them the enemy of the cultivation world. More importantly, when they learned that the three seriously injured masters of the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island had already recovered under Yang Chen's medicinal pills, they were even more moved. Yang Chen absolutely needed to be killed. If they don't get it, they still need to ask Yang Chen to cure the wounds for their three elders. Now was not the time to get carried away, the three masters of the Daching stage, which sect could afford to lose such a force? Because of the shackles of the little Pure Yang Palace, because of one of the troubled disciples of their own sect and Yang Chen's personal grievances, they gave up the three masters of the Daching stage and really made this decision. The sect master of the greatest heaven sect immediately crashed into a group of angry masters off the stage. To put it bluntly, the greatest heaven sect couldn't understand Yang Chen, the cause was Li Qingchen's business. But now Li Qingchen has died and Li Qingchen was clearly jealous of Yang Chen. At that time, he was oppressing Yang Chen as an outer sect disciple at the late stage of the foundation stage. Then there was the arrangement of the greatest heaven sect in the Pure Yang Palace and the conspiracy to seize the Pure Yang Palace. The greatest heaven sect was also feeling very hateful. However, if this was strictly speaking, it was because their sect's actions were not right. The Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island had three more masters of the Daching stage, while the greatest heaven sect has three fewer. How could this account not be worthwhile? The greatest heaven sect could only find the Pure Yang Palace with a hard scalp and seek cooperation again. From the very beginning, when the arrogant people, Ming Guangruo with the Hallmaster Mao Tang, went to the Pure Yang Palace to interpret the secret key, they were very overbearing, but now they needed to accompany them with a smile. The greatest heaven sect changes made everyone speechless. Even the high-ranking members of the greatest heaven sect had some unpleasant faces. Yang Chen has gone to the extreme north of the land to pick up Mu Bai family, so he was not in the sect. Many people can't find the Lord in the past, they could only find the Palace Master. If they dared to find the sect in this kind of situation, everyone was an expert, the person with the lowest cultivation base was at the late Yuning stage. The purpose of coming to the sect was naturally to seek for a pill. Of course, above this realm, what everyone wanted to ask for was the questioning inner heart pill. Since Yang Chen was willing to make alchemy for everyone, naturally he would not refuse. The head of the palace has long been ready to ask for a list of medicinal herbs that was needed for the questioning inner heart pill. As long as someone asks for a questioning inner heart pill, he would send a list to them. Yang Chen has given his word in the first place that they should prepare their own medicinal herbs. Yang Chen would not post his own medicinal herbs to make alchemy for others. Everyone got a list of medicinal herbs that was required for the questioning inner heart pill. Naturally, they were all very happy. They quickly prepared for it. At the same time, they also hang a number on the side of the Pure Yang Palace. When it was their turn, when they could get together the medicinal materials, but also to see if Yang Chen was free. Everyone was not empty-handed when they came. The visitors were not familiar with each other, but it was like everyone agreed to prepare some gifts when coming. These meeting gifts were also very similar, most of them were a few heads. It made Hallmaster Zhanxian become amazed and he couldn't help wondering. Fortunately, the explanations of the people were very fast coming and immediately Zhanxian knew the origins of these people. These were some killers. It was said that the next assassination against Yang Chen, regardless of whether things have been done, as long as they took the assassination of Yang Chen, it was a crime punishable by death. These experts, on their way, took care of several killers and they brought the heads just to show it. Originally the Pure Yang Palace was only a sect at the bottom of the second-rate sects. It was not known whether the Pure Yang Palace would be swallowed by a large sect one day, but now it has become the leader of the second-rate sect. Although it was not comparable to the super sects like the Blue Cloud sect, Greatest Heaven sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island, they were not so far behind at this time. At this time, no one dared to have any other thoughts on the Pure Yang Palace. Who knew how many masters were secretly waiting for such an opportunity and then used these human heads to please the Pure Yang Palace. The head of the hundreds of killers placed at the gate of the Pure Yang Palace was the testaments of all this. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 397. Trouble. Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling did not know what happened in these days. They were on their way to the north. In the territory of the monster race, Yang Chen directly increased the speed of the shuttle to the fastest speed possible. It has been a few years since the 30 years of agreement with the Cypress, and Yang Chen was afraid that the Cypress would be worried about the authenticity of his own words, so his speed was fast. Fortunately, for Gongsun Ling's mountain river geographical map, their speed was not important. The places they passed by were still recorded in detail. This was the reason for Gongsun Ling to follow him. The waves in the Central Plains Dao Sex has nothing to do with the monster race side, and there was no news to pass here. It seemed that everything was normal. But the high speed of the shuttle, there was no such thing as an ordinary demon that could catch up with them. Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling were very relieved. Of course, this was not one of the biggest reasons. It was that Shikui and Xie have recently felt that there were some bottlenecks in their cultivation, so they also followed the two out to the monster's domain. The two powerful guys didn't have any systematic cultivation methods to cultivate before. They relied on instinct to support their Yuanying stage realm, and then they followed it with the transformation secret art and became more powerful. After Yang Chen brought back the cultivation methods of the monster race, the two talents were truly having their own cultivation methods, and they began to cultivate step by step. Incorporating the fifth earth true essence, plus their cultivation to this period, both of them have reached the level of the late Yuanying stage. It was just stuck on the threshold of the peak Yuanying stage, and it's not possible for them to enter it for a while, but this realm was entirely because of their state of mind, not any other reason. For the time being, they were not willing to waste a questioning inner heart pill, so they came out with Yang Chen to take a closer look at the monster race world. It was good for their cultivation. Whether it was the Dao sex or the demonic sex or even the monster race, after the Yuanying level or above, it was not simply a matter of hard work to advance. Reading thousands of books was not as good as traveling thousands of miles, it was so for scholars, and the same was true for cultivators. The development of Mu Bai family was indeed good. With the cultivation method provided by Yang Chen, and with the spirits gathering formation of Yang Chen, even in the bitter cold of the extreme north, the members of their family were still very lively and moisturizing. The Cypress family had the foundations that had been polished in the northernmost places for thousands of years. The cultivation of Yang Chen's cultivation method was simply smooth, and it was easy to restore their original cultivation base, and even began to hit higher realms. As a young master, Mu Bai was convinced that not only was Yang Chen giving them the direction of cultivation, but also let them see the hope of their family's brilliant rise. In the past 30 years, the Cypress family has undergone a small form of cultivation, and at least everyone could turn into a person and walk on the ground. Although they could still see the appearance of the big tree, it was already a lot of changes from before. Seeing that Yang Chen and their agreed date have passed, but Yang Chen did not come as scheduled in 30 years. However, after talking about it for 30 years, everyone was not in a hurry. For those who were Cypress, the time of 10 or 8 years was just a leisure time. As for Mu Bai himself, because he got Yang Chen's personal instructions, he also absorbed a lot of Penglai divine wood branches and leaves. His superior qualifications seemed to be more powerful, and his cultivation went soaring. In just 30 years, he directly rushed to the middle Jidan stage. Not to mention the realm, on his single-handed combat power, at least the same level of partners, has long not been the opponent of Mu Bai. In this aspect of combat, Mu Bai seemed to have a genius-like comprehension. With Yang Chen giving him his personal guidance, even the patriarch, the master who was infinitely close to the Yuanying stage, was not the opponent of Mu Bai. Originally, the life of the Cypress family was very good, but these days they had to face a big trouble. A Dao cultivator rushed to the side and took a fancy to their family. The newcomer was a master of the Yuanying stage. The person amazingly did not immediately kill them after coming, but released his power to show his strength and asked them to serve him. This kind of thing, Yang Chen once did it once, but even Yang Chen at that time still spent a lot of time and effort, even uprooting the patriarch in the Cypress, which made them fearful of him. As for the conviction, they still waited for Yang Chen to take out those cultivation methods and give them some guidance before he could achieve results. The person who came here came up and wanted them to serve him without any clamor. How could the Cypress family agree? Not to mention that they have already agreed with Yang Chen to join Yang Chen's sect, the Pure Yang Palace, even if there was no such thing, the monster race cultivated freely. How could it be so inexplicable to put a layer of shackles on them? The other party asked for a reply within a few days. Now that the answer has been made, the other person's figure also appeared in front of the mountain. His sword was hanging in the air, staring at the crowd. Have you thought about it? If you join my greatest heaven sect, if you want to have a status, you will have a status. If you want resources, you can have resources. If you want cultivation methods, you can have cultivation methods, and you can have 1,000 times more better cultivation place than the bitter cultivation haha in this extremely northern place. The master was a middle-aged man who looked kind and eye-catching. He looked like a good man and seemed to have a lureful element in his words. The trees have become monsters and they have always gotten strong bodies, and this has already been shown in the body of the Gishanyu, the hallmaster of the Pure Yang Palace. Not to mention his performance in the great calamity of the demonic art, overseeing the 100,000 mountains, even with dozens of Yuning stage masters trying to mess up, he was able to suppress everything. It was discovered that there was such a Cypress demon family in this extremely northern land, and even the expert of the Greatest Heaven sect was extremely excited. He was originally a Greatest Heaven sect expert who specially recruited disciples from the monster race. If he could bring this cypress nest to the sect, they would be an extremely powerful force in the future. This kind of great merits, he would not let it go, especially here in the bitter cold. Presumably these cypress monsters' qualifications must be very outstanding, but he could not easily let it go. Of course, recruiting the monster race to join the Greatest Heaven sect, but he also had to treat each other with courtesy, good words and persuasion. After all, at the same time, they would be people of the same sect, they could not have a bad relationship. Therefore, at the beginning, he still used a lot of temptations. Cultivators, whether they were Tao cultivators or monster cultivators, would they not need resources for cultivation? Unexpectedly, the tried and tested tricks in this group of cypresses didn't have the desired effect. The other party refused to accept, which made the Greatest Heaven sect expert have an ugly face. Since they wouldn't accept his kindness, he had to give them some lessons and let them know that the Greatest Heaven sect was powerful. To be a master of the Yuning stage and to fight 110 tree monsters that were only in the Jitan stage, it was simply bullying. In the view of the Greatest Heaven sect's expert, this group of cypresses in this bitter and cold land, he did not know where they got a spirit-gathering formation. It was arranged in such a sinister array, thinking that this was a paradise was really stupid. How could they know how wide the world was outside, how many powerful masters there was? Killing them was just a matter of raising their hands. Waiting for this 110 tree monsters and to bring them back to the sect was naturally a great achievement. Moreover, the Yuning master himself was in this extremely northern place. There were still some things he had to do after these cypresses submit to him, as they were not afraid of the cold, they could help him a lot. After waiting patiently for a few days, it was time for the cypresses to give him their answer. Today, he was here to wait for the reply of the cypresses. In his opinion, when he told them the font size of the Greatest Heaven sect plus those temptations, even if they disagreed at first, they would consider it now. What the Yuning stage master never thought of was that when he thought they had condescended to succumb to the posture and gave him a face, these cypresses monsters once again gave him a good slap in the face. We will not join the Greatest Heaven sect. As a patriarch, he has seen Yang Chen's strength and then he has looked at this masters, naturally there would be a comparison. Moreover, there has been an agreement with Yang Chen and he would not be rude and break it. In some cases, the monster race was indeed more honest than Tao cultivators. Do you not want to give me face? The guy from the Greatest Heaven sect was furious. These guys dared not put him in their eyes. He should give them a big lesson today. If you won't accept my goodwill, then prepare to taste defeat. In the screaming voice, the flying sword of the Yuning stage master has already flown out. He was going for the patriarch with the highest cultivation base. As long as he subdued this stubborn old guy, the others would naturally not talk. Bang dang, a sound of crisp and loud sound was heard. The flying sword solidly stabbed the body of the old patriarch. However, the body of the old patriarch, this sturdy cedar and in this bitter cold, it has been growing for almost 1,000 years, the flying sword of the Yuning stage master couldn't through it at once. Not only that, the flying sword that pierced the body of the old patriarch was actually caught in the body by the old patriarch and the arm and big hand of a large trunk incarnation had firmly grasped the other end of the flying sword. The flying sword of a master of the Yuning stage was completely controlled by the old patriarch with his body and arms. Even if the Yuning stage master used his spiritual awareness to control the flying sword, it couldn't move a little under the body of the old patriarch. He wanted to penetrate deeper into the body of the old patriarch, but the body of the old patriarch was becoming harder and harder. The quality of his flying sword cannot be deepened. He wanted to retreat but was blocked by the old patriarch's big hand, so he was in a dilemma. Under this circumstance, unless the Yuning stage master's spiritual awareness was powerful and it could bring the old patriarch and his own flying sword together. Otherwise, even if the flying sword could still fly, there would be no lethality. Moreover, a 10,000 years cypress monster, it was not known how deep his roots were. Could a trivial Yuning stage master uproot him? Even Yang Chen, in their face-off, used the mountain-picking strength of his body-refining technique, only then was he able to uproot the old patriarch. This guy wanted to do this kind of thing in the air, it was simply a fool's wish. The flying sword was controlled between the tricks, but Yuning stage master did not think of it. He thought that he was a Yuning stage master, so teaching a lesson to these ignorant tree monsters would be easy, but did not think of things being this difficult. However, after all, he was a Yuning stage master, he immediately released his pressure once again, and at the same time, there appeared another magic weapon in his hand. The greatest heaven sect was a big sect, and almost every master who has reached the Yuning stage has a life source flying sword. So far, even if an ordinary flying sword was made, he has not used the idea of using his life source flying sword. The rebellion of the old tree monster made him look at each other and strengthen his determination to suppress the cypresses. If he has this kind of powerful monster race under him, it would be a great help for him in a few years of training. In the sect, he would certainly be able to improve his position. This time, the Yuning stage master took out a bracelet and looked at the air and threw it into a huge circle. It turned to the head of the old patriarch. However, while the circle was still in the air, it was stopped by a flying sword that suddenly appeared. The Yuning stage master found that the flying sword turned out to be released by a young cypress monster. It was naturally Mubai that released the flying sword. Yang Chen's separate guidance made him know how to sacrificially refine his own life source flying sword. The flying sword of the previous life Mubai was made by refining his own heart. In this case, Yang Chen's guidance was also proportional, as it was still refining. However, after the leaves and branches of the Penglai divine wood were absorbed, the quality of Mubai flying sword was higher than that of his previous life. Just because the time of refining was still short, the grade was not high, it was now just a prototype of the flying sword, but there was still a certain distance from it becoming the real flying sword. But even so, it has been able to fly out to fight. Under the control of Mubai, the flying sword embryo actually stopped the bracelet of the Yuning stage master in the air, and it could not continue to fall. At first, the Yuning stage master was still somewhat careless, but after a while, his face could not help but be surprised. This young tree monster was at best in the middle Jidan stage. He even used an unformed sword embryo and the magic weapon he controlled to become a Tai. Although he has not used his own life source flying sword, this was enough for him to be surprised. After discovering this, the Yuning stage master couldn't help but feel a joy in the heart. This tree monster belongs to it and it was really strong. This was the middle Jidan stage, if it reached the Yuning stage, couldn't it kill him easily? This kind of enchanting monster must be in his own hands, and in the future, there would be a place in the high-ranking members of the greatest heaven sect for him. With this idea in mind, the Yuning stage master was even more prosperous and has made a variety of means, must be completely convinced. However, it was counterproductive. After the old patriarch took control of the flying sword, he began to vacate a hand and held a large branch. Just like holding a huge stick, he would hit it in his pocket and did not give the Yuning stage master a little bit of face. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 398. Ask him what to do. In the face of the huge sticks of the old patriarch, the Yuning stage master sneered, and there appeared a flashing golden helmet on the top of his head, emitting a burst of golden light and welcoming it. There was a loud bang, the huge sound was accompanied by a pile of leaves, everyone's sights were covered in pieces of fine cedar leaves, and they were no longer able to see the other person. Can the ability of such insects hurt me? The voice of the Yuning stage master rang in the ears of everyone, it seemed to sound very calm. However, anyone familiar with the Yuning stage master knew that the more calm he became, the more angry he was. Two Jidan stage tree monsters refused to give him face, how could he let this kind of thing continues to happen? The Yuning stage master also moved with real anger, he really had to give some painful lessons to these cypresses. But the Yuning stage master's shout, a huge transparent giant hand appeared in the SK and it grabbed at the cypress monster on the ground. This was a blow with about 80% of the Yuning stage master's cultivation base behind it. He was confident that under this attack, these tree monsters who does not know the immensity of heaven and earth would be seized by him. Boom, the bust on the ground covered the entire sky like smoke, with small pieces of snow and ice flying in the sky. The spirit-gathering formation arranged by Yang Chen was crushed by this blow, and the surrounding ground even shattered by a few feet. The power of this attack was simply staggering. But what was even more frightening was that under this attack, even ordinary trees and even earth and stone within the scope of the attack have been broken, but the 110 cypresses were not damaged, nobody would believe it unless they witness it themselves. 108 were only the cypresses who have cultivated to the peak foundation stage. They even rely on a strange array to block the Kai of the Yuning stage master. Looking at this quantity, it should be a heavenly spirit earthly fiend formation. However, the Yuning stage master has seen a lot of arrays, but he has never seen such a magical array, and it was able to block his own attack. This was not the most embarrassing aspect of the situation. While he was shocked by the defense of these cypresses, a shadowless and invisible sword light has penetrated the smoke and appeared at his feet. The person who controlled the flying sword was very dexterous. Under his control of the flying sword was almost silent. Plus this was refined from the wooden heart, no matter from the appearance or the inside, it was common with the ordinary branches and it was difficult to distinguish. The traces of the flight was almost the same as some of the branches that were flying around, making it hard to guard against. The other party was thinking about sneak attacking on a Yuning stage master by borrowing the heavily sloppy camouflage. Faced with the spiritual awareness of the Yuning stage master in the battle, this kind of sneak attack was meaningless. The Yuning stage master even intended to directly ruin this flying sword, giving the flying sword master a lifelong unforgettable lesson. The Yuning stage master sneered with a cold face, standing in the air and being motionless. His whole body's spiritual power was exhausted and condensed under his feet, he was just waiting for the flying sword to come, and he would use one foot to smash it. The master of the flying sword really counted everything, he directly cut into the abdomen of the Yuning stage master, and the flying sword was kicked by the Yuning stage master with an extremely rapid kick. At the moment of kicking, the Yuning stage master knew that his kick was strong, and the flying sword was kicked into pieces of irregular wood chips. At the time of glory, the Yuning stage master suddenly had a pain in his chest and abdomen, and he fixed his eyes on it, it was a few pieces of finely divided cedar leaves, like a dagger, pierced between his chest and abdomen. The leaves of cypress trees were very irregular and they were in all directions. This thorn was a large piece of skin, blood was flowing out non-stop. Whatever the branches before, it was simply a cover made by these cedar leaves. Not enough of these so-called daggers, it was simply a leaf and there was no spiritual fluctuation on them, which was simply undetectable. The Yuning stage master was furious, he has suffered such injuries in front of a group of Jidan stage tree monsters. Was it tolerable? Under his wrath, he did not care about anything. When he reached out, he pulled out the cypress leaves that pierced his chest and abdomen. This action was a very natural movement when he was injured. The next step was to immediately heal the wound with his spirit power and quickly recover. However, under his wrath, he completely forgot the shape of the cypress leaves. Several daggers piercing his chest and abdomen were violently pulled out and even a few pieces of fist-sized pieces of meat were directly pulled out. The violent pain almost made the Yuning stage master faint immediately and finally he used his amazing cultivation base to resist. But even so he could not attend to one thing without losing track of another thing, so he could no longer fly in the air and he fell heavily. As soon as he fell into the array of 108 cypresses. These guys were also really good. After Yang Chen's teaching, in addition to their own cultivation in the past 30 years, they have been practicing this array. They were already extremely familiar with it. They have just been able to take the attack of the Yuning stage master and they could attack now, it was even more unscrupulous. The heavenly spirit earthly fiend great formation that Yang Chen passed down was different from the ordinary one. The tree monsters in the formation cultivation base were equal and at the same time, they made a move to defend. Even if the other party wanted to break the formation, in addition to knowing how to break the formation, there would be violent attack used. Violent hacking requires a strong cultivation base, especially the 108 monsters seriously needed to be injured in a single move. However, under the influence of the formation method, no matter how strong the attack was, there were always 108 tree demons scattered at the same time, and the tree monsters were strong in defense, plus being rooted here, they could always draw support from the earth. The Yuning stage master was not a fire attribute cultivator, naturally he could not succeed. Bang bang, after a series of attacks, almost never falling, all hit the master of the greatest heaven sect. The attack power of the 108 tree monsters combined, although not able to put the other side to death, it was not so easy to deal with. In addition, the Yuning stage master also has an injury after a series of attacks, so that he was even more indifferent to the injury, his defense was stretched and uncomfortable. Finally, he survived the first wave of attack. The Yuning stage master was a Yuning stage master. Immediately afterwards, as the tree monster's cultivation base was insufficient the attack was disengaged. He stopped the wound between his chest and abdomen and then decisively called out his own life source flying sword. A group of things that don't appreciate goodwill, you want to kill me, do you think that this grandpa has a good temper? As a disciple of the greatest heaven sect, he has always been used to arrogance, when he suffered such grievances, injuries and shame, it made the Yuning stage master's anger rise to the highest point. Today, if I do not ruin your corpse, I will not have been born. The Yuning stage master violently shouted. As soon as the voice came out, the old patriarch and Yuba heart were all sinking. To launch his life source flying sword, it meant that he plans to kill. How powerful was the Yuning stage master's life source flying sword, not to mention whether the old patriarch could lock the flying sword with its body, even if it was locked, it was estimated that it would be driven by the other party's life flying sword, he would be unable to help himself. It was naturally Mu Bai who plotted against the Yuning stage master with the leaf dagger. He not only refined the wooden heart sword embryo, but also carried a few botanical leaves daggers. Under one blow, he really got to the Yuning stage master. However, the other party's strength was too strong, no blows were fatal, this was the most misplaced aspect. Now, the Yuning stage master has already called out his own life source flying sword, saying that some people in the family must also be sacrificed. Of course, Liu Bai would never look at his own people get killed, even if they were dying, they must also get enough payback. The other side's life source flying sword has been launched. Within a few breaths, a gap has been found in the heavenly spirit earthly fiend great for Mot Yan, and a few whispers were heard. 3 cypresses in the foundation stage have already been pierced. Fortunately, the key to the cypress was not in one part of the body, even if they were injured, but they could continue to stimulate the formation. Liu Bai was in a hurry and hurriedly attacked the flying sword. The dozens of cypress leaf daggers also spun out and attacked the opponent from each direction. The sneak attack could be successful, but it does not mean that the second time could also make the other party lose guard. The Yuning stage just simply spin the life source flying sword in front of his eyes, the leaf daggers flying to his side was smashed into pieces. These daggers were just refined by Liu Bai on the side, so the quality was not high. When they met the opposite party's life source flying sword, there was almost no effort on it. As for the rest of the tree monsters, apart from the old patriarch, there were almost no one having a flying swords, all of them were still cultivating the cultivation method and formation of Yang Chen. Depending on the formation, they may be able to withstand a while, but it would never last long. But whether it was the old patriarch or Liu Bai, even the young tree monsters, they did not give up resistance. For them, since they had promised Yang Chen in the past, they were now the people of the Pure Yang Palace. Even if they were dead, they cannot side with another faction. Even if we wait for a violent death today, we also have the Pure Yang Palace to avenge us. The old patriarch also showed his flying sword and shouted, the flying sword smashed towards the Yuning stage master. Even if he was not his opponent, he must fight to the end. Pure Yang Palace. The Yuning stage master became infuriated. It turned out that the Pure Yang Palace took the first step. Just today, I will send you to see the ancestors of the Pure Yang Palace. After determining that they were his enemies, the Yuning stage master completely began to attack crazily. The life source flying sword, after cutting off the old patriarch and Liu Bai's sword embryo, left a deep wound in each of them and then flew into the heavenly spirit earthly fiend great for Mot Yan. With every attack, the flying sword could cause several wounds. In a few moments, when the injured tree monsters were more than half, they could no longer maintain a complete battle formation. They were like sitting ducks to the Yuning stage master, there was no decent resistance. Even the tree monsters including 45 foundation stage was instantly smashed into a few paragraphs and there was no more half cent. Put up with him. The rest of the formation could no longer be maintained, but the bloodness of each tree monster was not reduced and they rushed forward without fear of death. Today, I will kill the remnants of the Pure Yang Palace and see who dares to fight against my greatest heaven sect. The Yuning stage master listened to the shouts of the tree monsters and he saw their unyielding faces. He has already changed hands and targeted the old patriarch and Liu Bai, who threatened himself the most. It's not that he doesn't want to stop the two monsters. It was really hard for him to do anything to the old patriarch and Liu Bai. Even if it was his life source flying sword, the sharpest part still couldn't have much effect. But no matter who it was, if there are a lot of holes in your head, you couldn't live anymore. The Yuning stage master was playing with this idea. After cutting the waist of 2 foundation stage tree monsters, his flying sword pierced the patriarch's chest. When I kill you, I will send your body to the Pure Yang Palace. The Yuning stage master has completely gained the upper hand at this moment, but his tone was still the same. I have to look at the old tree monster of the Pure Yang Palace and see what kind of face he will make. Who is saying such big words? The voice of the Yuning stage master was not allowed to land and the sound of 2 screaming thunder sounded from a distance. From the sound to the ears of everyone, it seemed that the person who made the sound has already arrived. 2 incomparable figures appeared in the air on the left and right side to the Yuning stage master. The Yuning stage master was shocked. He just received a flying sword in front of him and his foot was in a fog. He didn't know what the origin of this fog was. The Yuning stage master's body quickly flew away, but after a while, the original cypress monsters has been lost to his sight. He did not know where they disappeared to. Shikui Shesha, seeing the faces of the 2 figures, the Yuning stage master's face, could not help but reveal great shock, and his voice also shivered. There were a total of 3 people in the Pure Yang Palace Hall of Eccentrics, except for the old tree monster Gi Shanyu, there were 2 others in the Yuning stage. The 2 were still the first to join the Hall of Eccentrics, and many experts of the other sects knew their names. As monster cultivators, Shikui and Shesha were also extremely powerful in some of their later battles. the master of the greatest heaven sect dared to play in front of the cypresses, facing Shikui and Xia. He really did not dare to speak loudly. Is Hall Master Gi someone who you can talk about so casually? Shikui had a gloomy smile and had eye that emit Tedanomi Nao's light. The opposite of Xia was the same. In the pure Yang Palace for these two, in addition to Yang Chen, the one they were most obedient to was the old tree monster Gi Shanyu. Now this guy dared to talk about Hallmaster Gi like this. If he was seeking his own death, he could not blame others. Wiz, the Yuning Stage Master Act 2 ally without demur turned around and flee. Not to mention that he was alone, even if he was 10, he does not dare to face the two fierce guys. Do predecessors, he killed several of us, don't let him go. It was the voice of Mu Bai. It was estimated that the other party was going to flee, and he reminded Shikui and Xia. Want to run? Shikui sneered and showed its original form directly. A huge python of thousands of feet, with just a twist, it stopped in front of the Yuning stage master, two huge eyes, shot cold light, staring at the opponent who had already become scared without any courage. Keep his life, ask him what he is doing here. This time the voice was very soft, it made people who heard feel like listening to the spring breeze. It was Yang Chen. Master, you are finally here. Mu Bai suddenly heard Yang Chen's voice and shouted loudly. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 399. Good, Mu Bai, you dare to make a move on a Yuning stage master, you are worthy of being my disciple, you have not lost my face. Yang Chen's figure appeared in front of the seriously injured Mu Bai, and then a medicinal pill was directly thrown into the mouth of Mu Bai. The burst of fog was actually Gongsun Ling's doing, she directly used an array to hide the injured cypress monsters. After Shikui and Xia shocked the Yuning stage master, Yang Chen immediately appeared in front of everyone. A series of Lingzi mushroom jade pills was given out, of course, it was first grade pills, and the injury below the Yuning stage was almost relieved immediately. Even if the injury was as heavy as the old patriarch's, there were 3 or 4 holes in his body, it was restored instantly. However, Yang Chen and the others still came a little later, at least 8 of the Foundation stage cypress monsters were killed by the Yuning stage master. The cypress that recovered a little bit looked at the bodies of their family members and their eyes turned red. Nowadays, the cypress demon family has not yet cultivated Yang Chen's transformation secret art. It was only the low-grade transformation secret art from the Banyan Tree Immortal's cave. It could only be said that they were temporarily maintaining the shape of the person. In most places, their original form could still be seen. The bark branches and so on, you could see at a glance that they were tree monsters. But even then, the anger of Mu Bai was very clear. Of course, he would not blame Yang Chen for coming late. What he hated was that his cultivation base was too low to be able to stop the attack of the guy and save his own people. The Yuning stage master who escaped, facing the thousands of feet snake, had almost no resistance. The fierce reputation of the Shikui and Xia was shown, they just used 2 poisonous mists to turn the master of the greatest heaven sect, who has just been incomprehensible, into a soft mud and thrown him in front of Yang Chen. At this time, the Yuning stage master, he was no longer having a master's temperament, fainting on the ground just like a piece of rotten wood. Yang Chen looked at the face of Mu Bai. So far, although Mu Bai has been glaring at the other, but he has not done anything, he was obviously waiting for Yang Chen's instructions. All the Qiankan bags were searched, and Yang Chen gave this guy a mouthful of medicinal pills. The blue jade vine was placed around him, and the poisonous mist of Shikui and Xia was lifted. Soon, the master woke up from a coma and found an abnormality in himself. He found that the other party did not abolish his own cultivation base, but also left his own life source flying sword on him, which was a good opportunity. Yang Chen's identity, he immediately recognized it, naturally he knew Yang Chen's status in the Pure Yang Palace. In his mind, as long as he could take Yang Chen hostage, Shikui and Xia would not attack for fear of hurting Yang Chen. In a split second, the Yuning stage master made a judgment and his body flashed and appeared on the side of Yang Chen. The flying sword was instantly held in his hand and it went to Yang Chen's neck. Unexpectedly, the moment the flying sword just appeared, his wrist was in pain, then a bloody mouth appeared and swallowed his own life source flying sword. The master was shocked and wanted to use his own flying sword. However, he found that the flying sword, which has always been connected with his own flesh and blood, did not have a slight reaction at the moment. No matter how he urged with his spiritual awareness, he could not use his life source flying sword. Being in fear, suddenly there was a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness, the connection between the life source flying sword and him was suddenly cut off, there was no connection with the life source flying sword anymore. This time, the life source flying sword was lost, and suddenly the master felt his sea of consciousness shaking severely, his internal organs were seriously injured, and he spurted out blood crazily. His figure was also wilting, he was almost no longer able to stand. "You Bai, take care of him." Yang Chen did not look at the guy around him who had almost become a waste. He turned to Mu Bai and gestured to him, "Don't kill, leave him with a breath, after you cure him you can beat him again." Mu Bai would not be polite, he grabbed the master who had just been hit hard, lifted him up high, and then slammed him on the ground. Going up was a punch and kick, without the slightest mercy. As a tree monster he had a huge force, his hateful fists continued to attack, suddenly the sound of a broken fracture was heard, it was mixed with the screams of the pain of the master, it made the people who listened heard it color change. The Yuning Stage Master was a Yuning Stage Master after all, even if it was such a painful beatdown, almost after a fragrant time, he stopped screaming and fainted. However, at this moment, he has already breathed a sigh of relief, seeing more gas and less air intake. Rest for a while. Yang Chen stopped Mu Bai and then gave the Yuning Stage Master another medicinal pill, and it quickly connected the broken bones of the master. For this kind of skin trauma, Yang Chen's medicinal effect was surprisingly good. When it was less than an hour, it could not be seen that he was even hurt before. However, it was only for the injury to the flesh, it had no effect on the serious injury to his spiritual awareness. You continue. Yang Chen saw that the Yuning Stage Master has recovered almost completely, and he instructed Mu Bai again, "Don't kill him." Mu Bai sneaked up again and attacked with rounds of fist punches. Then there was another pig-like scream and a broken bone sound. It took a while to stop after the Yuning Stage Master fainted. Yang Chen treated him again. After the cure, Mu Bai rushed up and was crazy and vented his anger. After a dozen or so consecutive times, the Yuning Stage Master almost did not dare to look at the eyes of Mu Bai. As for Yang Chen, even the voice of his speech could make the Yuning Stage Master tremble. "Change people." Yang Chen's voice once again made the Yuning Stage Master tremble, it was the last decision he wanted to hear. Mu Bai was tired and has cooled down, but other cypresses, including the old patriarch, had not yet moved. This guy killed 8 members of the cypress monster family, and almost everyone else was wounded. Which one did not hate him? If Yang Chen had already not convinced them, and the strength of Shikui and Shesha also not made them fearful, they would have already attacked him. Now when they heard the meaning of Yang Chen, it seems that he intended to let them take turns. It suddenly caused a burst of cheers. The old patriarch took the lead and took over the position of Mu Bai. He began to madly use his fists to bombard the other side. How could this kind of boxing to the flesh feel more comfortable? After the old patriarch had cooled off a dozen times, he was replaced by another tribe member. The cypress monster group behind him had already started to guess their cueing and waited for the moment when they had a chance. For more than 3 months, everyone did not do anything else. In addition to recuperating, they were taking turns to play with their fists. In Yang Chen's words, there was not much chance of being able to flatten a Yuning Stage Master. If they wanted to be cool down, they could be cool. As long as he didn't die, Yang Chen could always heal him and let everyone vent their anger. It takes at least a day for everyone to stun the guy who killed their people for dozens of times before they could change hands. The greatest heaven sex Yuning Stage Master directly fell into the pain and humiliation of hell. The ancestors of the Yuning stage, even if they were not in the greatest heaven sect but walking outside, at least 9 people in 10 would stop to give them face, respectfully calling them old ancestor. Such a big master, he has never endured this crazy torture, he has never endured the humiliation of being beaten by several country bumpkin tree monsters. Up to now, the Yuning stage ancestor has not collapsed, and it was because of a good habit he has cultivated under the long-term residence of the greatest heaven sect. The master never thought that the combination of fists and feet would be so painful. Plus with Yang Chen treatment, he was not so dedicated, as long as he was not dead, the broken bones would just be connected back him with the big bones, but those little bones were left in his flesh, once a punch came down, he could feel pain from the inside. It's okay once or twice, but dozens of times a day, it was severely unbearable. This was not counting the pain from his spiritual awareness after his life source flying sword was cut off. Even his little spiritual power would be dispelled by a little struggle, so he was without any struggle. Not to mention that he could protect his body, even killing himself was a luxury. As for running away, under the eyes of Shikui and Shesha, that was almost impossible. When he first met the 2 people, he fled and he was brought back. Now his whole body was hurt and it was even more impossible to escape. Sometimes, he hated that he couldn't die immediately under the fists of those cypresses, and he was also suffering from this kind of torture. But Yang Chen could pull him back from the gate of the underworld every time. The medicinal pills used were very powerful. Even if he has been beaten half dead and only half a life was left, after taking the medicinal pill, at most half an hour later, his body would be able to recover. In just 3 months, the precious healing pill that Yang Chen spent on him was more than 100 times more valuable than the medicinal pills he had received from his sect in his life. Yang Chen was the most talented alchemist master in the mortal world, couldn't he waste such a pill? He almost counted the number of seconds passed through these 3 months, he has never wanted to experience such a nightmare again. When the last cypress monster taught him the lesson, the first sentence that the master wakes up to hear was actually from Yang Chen. He was asking Liu Bai whether or not his family would like to start from the beginning again, he could no longer calm down and yelled at Yang Chen. What do you want to know? I will tell you everything. He never thought of himself as a Yuning stage ancestor, would have said such a discourse to a junior in the early Jitan stage. He himself felt incredible, but if he didn't say it, it meant that he would have to live through this hell again. Please, don't hit me again. In the process of the cypresses beating the Yuning stage master, the Yuning stage master wanted to confess more than once and not be tortured anymore, but they were all rejected by Yang Chen. He also understood that before these people took turns to vent their anger, they would not stop. Now that everyone has beaten him for a while, this was his chance. If he didn't catch it, he would not be able to bear the pain from these tree monsters again. What are you doing here? Yang Chen sat in a very comfortable chair, sitting next to a table, and there were a few fine dishes on the table. He was drinking with Shikui and Xie, who were listening too. When the greatest heaven sex guy asked for mercy, he asked casually, don't tell me it was to recruit the monster race. This is the northernmost land, there are only a few monsters here. In one sentence, the guy who wanted to use this excuse to smother the past was completely blocked. The northern part of the land was not without monsters, but it was indeed very rare. If the greatest heaven sect wanted to expand its strength, the most important thing to look for was a place like the Banyan Tree Immortal's cave where a lot of monster cultivators lived, not the snowfield where the bird does not lay eggs. The sect let me come to investigate the monster race situation. This guy from the greatest heaven sect knew that there was no way to lie, he could only sigh and replied. However, once his voice fell, Yang Chen had already beckoned with his hand to the side and shouted, Mu Bai, go and repair him. Mu Bai coldly snorted and went straight to the front. The master of the greatest heaven sect was punched and kicked. He ignored his arguments. Just like the beginning, he used his anger to beat him, and soon, the poor Yuning stage ancestor was once again stunned. Ongsen Ling just gave Yang Chen and Shikui and Xie another dish. These days, she just looked at Mu Bai and they did not say anything. She would never object to things decided by her husband. She sent Mu Bai a small pot of jade dragon wine. Mu Bai received it with respect and hurriedly thanked her. Thank you, Ms. Gongsun. Mu Bai thought that she was Yang Chen's wife, but he never expected that there were as many as 4, so he could only use the surname to call them separately, so he called Gongsun Ling, Ms. Gongsun. After a break, the Yuning stage ancestor recovered from the suffocation. But when Yang Chen asked again, he still had no change in his original excuse. Yang Chen was also very patient. After 3 months, he still have more time. The people of Mu Bai took turns to go rounds. The other party actually stuck with this reason and even wanted to die. It seems to be true. Shikui and Xie mind were clear, this guy has persisted for so many days and actually said so, it was presumably true. Oh, you won't shed tears without seeing the coffin. Yang Chen shook his head and took out 2 medicinal pills. Gongsun Ling has seen it before, it was the first grade inner sensing pills, but the others didn't know what kind of pill it was. Reaching out to the person, the 2 medicinal pills quickly poured into the mouth of the Yuning stage ancestor. That medicinal pill can make people feel itchy. Yang Chen smiled and explained to Gongsun Ling, inner sensing pill can make his senses 10 times better. Presumably he must be very comfortable now. During the speech, the Yuning stage ancestor who had taken the medicinal pill had already raised his eyes. Then his whole body's skin seemed to start to tremble, but when he wanted to move, he couldn't move and the voice in his mouth made a sound, it was not a complete sentence as he was unable to speak. Mu Bai, you can slowly pick up your belongings, we are not in a hurry, anyway, going back is also a practice, and here is the same. Yang Chen slowly told Mu Bai, but in fact he said it to the Yuning stage ancestor who was suffering. This medicinal pill can have 3 days of efficacy, but fortunately I have been refining a lot and there are dozens of them. I will give him one every 3 days to see how long he can hold. After saying this, Yang Chen looked at the poor guy and suddenly asked Shikui and Xie, the greatest heaven sex Yuning stage ancestors are not good enough, they must even use Yuning stage ancestors for scouting. When he heard this, the Yuning stage ancestor on the ground no longer had the courage to persist and his eyes began to have a lot of pleadings. He was just suffering from the medicinal pill and he couldn't say a word, making people looking at feel very pitiful. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 400. Immortal's Cave. Yang Chen did not let him go because of his pitiful eyes, but let him suffer from the 3 days of suffering, and then he released his tongue from the restrictions when the effect died down so that he could speak. I am here to direct my disciple in cultivation, you can take your time to think about it. After saying this, Yang Chen took out 2 more pills again and he was sent it to the mouth of this guy from the Greatest Heaven sect. Don't. I will speak. I will speak. The poor Wielding stage ancestor almost cried out and hurriedly yelled. At this moment, Yang Chen suddenly launched his hypnosis. Originally, this guy has been tortured with almost no resistance. Now he was still suffering from the damage to his spiritual awareness and it was also difficult for him in these 3 days. It was at this time that the body and the spirit was the most exhausted. Yang Chen's hypnosis started and it worked. Even the yin-yang demon sect's Madame Fangua, who was good at confusing people, have suffered losses in Yang Chen's hands, not to mention the Wielding stage ancestor from the Greatest Heaven sect. Compared with Madame Fangua, his will could be said to be weak enough to be compared to only one piece of paper. However, Yang Chen still used various means to launch the hypnosis. It was purely to let the cypresses vent their anger. Secondly, they destroyed most of his will and he used hypnosis to save more trouble. Soon, the hypnotized guy said the purpose of him coming here. He was very speechless to hear that this guys really came here to monitor the monster race situation and recruit some potential monster cultivators to join their sect's hall of eccentrics. All the recruitment before the cypress monsters here was to serve the sect. If this guy didn't have the thought of recruiting them for his sect, he would have slaughtered them the first minute he got here. When Yang Chen arrived, he could only see a pile of dead bodies. But this guy came here in addition to the task of the sect, he still had some selfishness. He was in the sect, however he was an ordinary Wielding stage master. Although the Greatest Heaven sect has given him enough status, he has not yet reached the core of the sect. After all, the Greatest Heaven sect was a big sect and there were hundreds of people in the Wielding stage. There were also many masters in the Daching stage. It was impossible for every Wielding stage ancestor to become a top member of the sect. It was also a normal phenomenon that he was not valued in the Greatest Heaven sect. When a sect was such a big one, there would be more things inside. Some things like competing for power and profit would inevitably happen. Even if their talents were as good as Sun Kingsu's, they were initially plotted against by several masters. The Blue Cloud sect was the same, how much more so would the Greatest Heaven sect be? The master of this guy got a secret from his master's ancestors. In this polar ice field, there was a small immortal's cave left by the ancestors. After thousands of years of accumulation, it was estimated that there would be some good things inside. In the past, it was not easy to blatantly come to the monster race territory. Now he had the task of the sect as a pretense, he would take the opportunity to take care of this immortal's cave. Everything about the immortal's cave, they were all stored in this guy's mind. This was the word from the mouth of the masters to their apprentices. Even the sect didn't know. After listening to everything, even Shikui and Shesha began emitting greedy lights from their eyes, there was such a good thing. After coming to the north, there was a chance for them to inherit this immortal's cave. Although the immortal's cave was not big, it was conceivable that there would be good things inside. Seeing that a person has shared his purpose, in Yang Chen's current vision, this small immortal's cave didn't mean much to him, he simply asked the Cypress family to hurry. The Cypress monster family has been set to go. In fact, for them, there was still nothing left here, it has already been stored in a Kiankan bag. The reason why they have been staying was to completely vent their anger. They got a confession and naturally everyone would be on the road together. The body of the Cypress monster family. All of them went into a medicine garden space that Yang Chen had already prepared. The spirit power were abundant there and they could just cultivate. As for the old patriarch and Yubai, they followed Yang Chen and stayed in the shuttle. The immortal's cave was deeper in the ice field, farther north than here. It was natural for them not to fear the cold, but it was not necessarily that there would be no danger in this extreme north. Although there were very few monster cultivators here, it does not mean that there was none here. And as long as there were so few, they were all strong guys. They were all wild monster cultivators who have been honed in the natural environment. The strong monsters would not be worse than Shikui and Shesha. Yang Chen does not want to find any trouble, so they tried not to provoke anything. However, it was not that Yang Chen wanted to avoid trouble, so it would also avoid them. The shuttle was only flying to the north for a few days, and it was stopped by others. Snort, a few months ago, you were sneaking around here, what is your intention? A stuffy thunderous voice directly spoke out, even before Yang Chen and others replied him, it immediately moved his hand to attack the shuttle. A huge white giant bear of several thousand feet in size, 2 claws like 2 huge steel hammers, shot down to the shuttle. This was the only way to go, even if he knew that there was a big monster here, Yang Chen must also go through here. He thought it would be a bit of a luxury to rely on the secret of the shuttle. This white bear simply turned the snow around him into his eyes and ears. Without the use of spiritual awareness, he could also find the traces of the shuttle. Even if the shuttle was fast, it would eventually need to break through the flying snow. The guy who wanted to come and sneak up was the poor worm of the greatest heaven sect. After conquering the cypresses, he would have let the cypress monster family to block the attack of this white bear. He just didn't know how he provoked the bear monster. When he met it, he was attacked without any mercy. Since the other party has already made a move, Yang Chen would naturally not be timid. Shikui and Xie were almost excited and shouted at the same time and went out of the shuttle. These days have been boring on the shuttle for them, someone was sent to their door to let them vent, was there something better than this? In the face of the cypress monster family, Shikui and Xie once again showed their fierceness. The two flew out in the moment of hearing the sound and they rushed to the sound of the guy. A huge hand slapped the face of the two almost without any influence, even their speed did not weaken by even half. However, the two powerful masters have all appeared in their original form, a tens of thousands of feet python, 1,000 feet sand scorpion, suddenly entangled together. Under the stunned gaze of the old patriarch and Mu Bai, the three-figure level monsters' battle lasted only less than half an incense time. Yang Chen pointed out that Shikui and Xie had more strength than the white bear. It was only by brute force that the huge white bear monster was thrown in front of Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling. Even if the huge body of Shikui has entangled its movement, but the white bear monster was still active and even attempted to attack Yang Chen. Although this white bear also has the cultivation base of the wielding stage, but seeing that its wilderness was not extinguished, even if Yang Chen tried to communicate with it several times, every time he felt the anger and killing intent of the white bear, the acceptance of the white bear was estimated to be a long time away. No way, Yang Chen could only let Gongsun Ling throw the white bear monster into the mountain river geographical map. It wasn't that Yang Chen had a change of heart and he was no longer interested in killing, but Gongsun Ling suddenly discovered that even if she was in the process of sacrificial refining her life source magic weapon, she could still take people into the mountain river geographical map. Of course, this was not the income in the battle, but the other party was thrown in without rebellion, the difficulty was naturally very different. In the mountain river geographical map, every one of the masters of the wielding stage was equivalent to the master of the wielding stage. When he was cultivating, he was also sacrificially refining this piece of the magic weapon for Gongsun Ling. For Gongsun Ling, there were many advantages. The master of the greatest heaven sect was fed a medicinal pill for his wounds when he came out of his coma and then thrown into the mountain river geographical map. He was tortured by the cypress monster family and Yang Chen's hypnosis. He believed that after he woke up, he would only remember that he was lucky. He was thrown by Yang Chen in this extremely wild wasteland. As for what he would do after his injury improves, it was not what Yang Chen knew. Anyway, he would cultivate, as long as he cultivated, it would help Gongsun Ling to sacrificially refine the mountain river geographical map. Even if he returned to the greatest heaven sect in the mountain river geographical map, he would not know what happened, only knowing that everyone disappeared, leaving himself alone. The white bear monster was the same. After being caught, he was thrown into the mountain river geographical map. In addition to Li Junyu at the beginning, Gongsun Ling's mountain river geographical map already has 3 wielding stage masters. It was a sure thing that the sacrificial refining would be faster and more powerful. The cypress monster family was naturally scattered in the white bear territory to search for valuables. Yang Chen has already said that whoever finds these things was their own and later it would be their own private property. All the cypress monsters were very excited, they were searching everywhere and they put in extra effort. Only the old patriarch and Mu Bai did not move but stayed by Yang Chen's side. From the memories of his past lives, Yang Chen knew that Mu Bai has always been obsessed with cultivation, he never indulged in foreign objects, even if it was his own life source flying swords, it was also his own wooden heart, but he did not value these things. So it was normal for him not to move. However, the old patriarch made Yang Chen surprised, his performance was not a fake. Plus with his cultivation these days, he was not worse than Mu Bai that absorbed the leaves of the Penglai divine wood, his qualifications was extremely outstanding. He just doesn't know why, in his past life he did not have any memory of him. Maybe he was already dead at the time. If this kind of talent was to be handed over to the old tree demon Qi Shanyu carefully, he believed that Qi Shanyu would not reject such a talented disciple. The group continued to move forward. Without the white bear monster, the road ahead was smooth and soon they arrived at the small immortal's cave that the guy from the greatest heaven sect mentioned. The position of the people at this time was not on the land but in a huge frozen sea. The place where they settled was a whole pieces of huge ice that was connected into one. It was not known how many years this cold winter had lasted. Even knowing that this was a sea of ice, it was no different from land. The immortal's cave was not on the ice sheet but on the bottom of the sea. There was Yang Chen's shuttle, so it was almost effortless to reach the bottom of the sea. Soon, Yang Chen found the location of the immortal's cave and according to the correct method, he performed the secret technique and entered the immortal's cave. As soon as he entered the Immortal's cave, he felt a thick warmth, even under the IC, it could not stop this warm current. For the time being, Yang Chen did not know whether there was any danger in it, so he did not release the cypress wood monster family, only the old patriarch and Yu Bai, plus Yang Chen, Gongsunling, Shikui and Xia, a total of 6 people. Carefully started to visit this cave. This was a small Immortal's cave. The space inside was a small piece compared to the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave, it added up to just 100 miles. However, the planning of this Immortal's cave was quite good and many cherished herbs have been planted here. Although no one cared for it, but for thousands of years, there have been many long-term growth. Moreover, the medicinal herbs were widely planted and with thousands of years of reproduction, they have covered most of the scope of the Immortal's cave, there was medicinal herbs everywhere. In addition, in a huge room called the Depository Sword Court, there were still hundreds of flying swords that have been formed. It had the attributes of the 5 elements and the quality was extremely good. The original owner of this Immortal's cave was a grandmaster of refining and had received much attention in the Greatest Heaven sect. However, he was not taken seriously. Every day, he was only used for the refining of swords for sect, but he cannot enter the core of the high-level members. This was one of the most basic reasons why he left this Immortal's cave for his disciples. Hundreds of excellent flying swords were left here, apparently the small vault that the owner of the Immortal's cave used to use the resources of Greatest Heaven sect. Originally intended to benefit future generations, but now all were cheaply gotten by Yang Chen and others. Go by yourself to choose the flying sword of your choice, 1 person and 1 sword, don't be greedy. At this moment, Yang Chen directly put all the people of the Cypress monster family out and let them choose. Everyone was overjoyed and quickly entered the Depository Sword Court. Even Shikui and Xia were no exception. Staying beside Yang Chen was only Gongsunling and Yu Bai. Gongsunling was not a sword cultivator, so it was normal to not select a flying sword. But Yu Bai was a pure sword cultivator, so not going to select made Yang Chen surprised. He couldn't help but ask Yu Bai, your flying sword has just been damaged, why not pick one? This disciple still likes his own refined flying sword. Yu Bai stared at the excited people selecting in the sword court and replied respectfully. Even if you don't need it, you can use it for something else after you take it. Yang Chen smiled and pointed out if you don't want to use it, it's okay to give to your disciples a good sword. His master's kindness, of course, could not be rejected. Moreover, Yang Chen also said that Yu Bai had to give his disciples a good sword. At the moment, there was no violation of Yang Chen's kindness. He walked into the sword court and carefully selected them. You're not going. When Yu Bai entered the sword court, Yang Chen turned to Gongsunling and asked with a smile. If you have it, I am afraid that my disciple will not have a flying sword in the future. Gongsunling covered her mouth and replied with a slight smile. Her eyes were full of sweetness. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more.